This is the Puck Junk Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Puck Junk Hockey Podcast. I'm Sal Berry, and with me is Tim Parrish and Clemente Lisi. And today we are going to talk about Fanatics Fest 2026, or Fanatics Fest NYC, I guess they call it, that just took place this past weekend. We're also going to talk about the upcoming National Sports Collectors Convention. So we are recapping one big sports memorabilia show, and we're doing a preview of another big sports memorabilia show. So that is what is on the agenda. But before we get to all of that, gentlemen, how are we doing? What's going on? Tim, it's been we have at least one listener who gets upset when I don't ask how you're doing. So how you doing?
Well, if I was one of the appetizers on the menu, I would say I would be crudité.
I don't even know what that is.
It's just a plate of carrots and celery.
Oh, that sounds terrible. I would never pay money for that.
You got it. Bingo. I've been sick, so I'm not doing too well. You can probably hear it in my voice, but I'm here. I'm here for the people. I'm here to let everybody know how I am. That is how I am.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, so you've been sick for almost a week now.
Yeah, it sucks. I don't usually get sick, but I'm in the theory that I got sunburned really bad, which compromised my immune system. So I caught some bug I must have, and it keeps giving me a fever and making me feel like crap. So
now the question is, are you going to be better in time for the National?
I sure as hell hope so.
Yeah.
I'm still sick then from whatever this is. I mean, it's not like, and I'm not even sick like all the other people in the rest of North America are from eating the poop lettuce. Like that's not, I don't even have that. It's just like normal sick, like congestion. I feel like it might be a sinus infection. I don't know.
Well, I saw a guy the other day on Instagram. He was jogging while eating the lettuce, but he was jogging in that really bad air from the Canadian fires. So he was going for a double dose of whatever was going on last
Thursday and Friday. I mean, I know out your direction it was way worse, but Thursday and Friday here the air quality was just garbage.
Actually, a couple days back,
Chicago was bad too.
No, Chicago had the worst air quality in the world. This was like maybe I want to say this was like maybe Friday.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thursday, Friday, it was rough.
Dude, Chicago was worse than New York, Los Angeles, Beijing, which has all the factories.
Or New Delhi. Yeah,
wow. I mean, hey, good. It's good to see Chicago be number one in something. I mean, and at least this maybe people will stop talking about crime. Stop talking about the crime in Chicago.
I was just going to say it's usually number one in crime.
But yeah, talk about
the crime went down. Nobody went out because they couldn't.
Yeah, crime went down because you couldn't see anybody robbing people. So
you can breathe, so it's great.
People will come up to me and they'll be like, "Oh, so you're from Chicago? Do you have black lung?"
Yeah, exactly.
or the miner's cough or whatever. Anyway, Clemente, how about you? You're not sick, and actually, you had a pretty sick as an awesome week. You did both Fanatics Fest, which you will talk about in greater detail, and you went to some little soccer game that I heard was pretty good.
Yeah, the World Cup final. So yeah, I'm nursing the hangover from the World Cup, 39 days of games and coverage, and then 4 days of Fanatics Fest because they grew by a day, which coincided with the World Cup on purpose. So New York was like the center of the sports universe this past weekend, and it was fun, but I'm happy it's over.
Did you attend any other games besides the final?
Yeah, I was able to go to France, Senegal, which was in the group stage. I took my daughter. It was her first World Cup game ever. It was cool. I mean, I should let people know I've been to the last 4 World Cups. So
and he's written 2 books about the history of the World Cup.
Yeah. So it's a big deal for me. And then I was able to go to Brazil, Norway during the group stage, and everyone fell in love with Norway, obviously. I mean, not the group stage, during the knockouts, and everyone fell in love with Norway, with the Erling Haaland and all the drumming and all that. That was a thing for a while. And then this past Sunday was the final between Spain and Argentina. And it reminded me of Tim's adage, defense wins championships. And if you saw the game or followed any of it, Spain won 1-0, and it was all based on, they only gave up 1 goal the whole tournament, and it's all based on strong defense. I will say, for all the people that fell in love with soccer the past 6 weeks, and they want to see lots of goals and all this fun stuff, the final was a little disappointing for those people. For us soccer purists, it was exactly the way we like it. This morning, someone said to me, one of my neighbors was like, I can't believe you guys get up at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday to watch this. But, so there's some people who are still not interested in soccer. You were sending me some messages early on, Sal, where you were commenting on the pregame, which there was a lot of throat clearing, I thought, before this thing started. But anyway,
well,
Tom Cruise come out and the national anthems, and they can't just do the 2 countries involved. They had to do the American one. They did God Bless America. I mean, they gave the Super Bowl treatment. So it was a very long game.
Well, and Tom Cruise, that was just funny because Tom Cruise is short, and they had him standing on it looked like a little pizza, it was a platform, but it was kind of wide. It looked like a pizza box. I'm like, why is Tom Cruise standing on a pizza box?
So you wrote to me, and I laughed at that because it was funny. And from, of course, my vantage point, everybody was like super tiny. At first, I didn't even know it was Tom Cruise. I don't think they even introduced him. He just came out and started talking, and he was giving some inspirational message about sports and society and the world, and these grandiose statements that everyone makes during the Olympics, that kind of thing. It's this sort of grandiose thing, and the cynic in me is like, everyone here is making a lot of money. This is what this is about. Let's move on. But
yeah,
but whatever. I understand they have to make these really bold statements, and of course, there's also the first World Cup ever halftime show, which was interesting. And a lot of the people at the halftime show were part of Fanatics Fest, including Justin Bieber, a few other people. So the 2 events really meshed. And of course, Topps sponsored the halftime show. There was a lot of synergy there. And it's the whole reason why Fanatics held Fanatics Fest in July, not June, because to coincide with the World Cup final. And it was nice to have a live sporting event broadcast during Fanatics Fest on Sunday, because it gave that live sports component. I mean, it makes me think they will never have that again, because it never is anything that exciting going on in June. Generally, there isn't unless you did it during the NBA finals or NHL or something like that, but you can't plan that, right?
Right. It's a little harder because
the World Cup final, this date was set years ago, like a Super Bowl. So it worked out nicely for Fanatics, and the show was great, and and large and crazy, and we'll talk about that soon.
So you're saying Fanatics didn't fix the NBA final so the Knicks would win?
I'm saying no, or fix the World Cup final, have Messi there too. That's the other conspiracy. But it did, if you read my story in Sports Collectors Digest, the World Cup and then the Knicks championship totally created this vibe where you could have all these people. There was an added layer, because let's be honest, and I know we're going to talk about the show soon properly. This has become a New York show. It's not really like the National. It's a New York show. And so having the Knicks there, yes, I don't think they fixed it, but it certainly worked out. Let's put it that way.
Very convenient.
Yes.
Yeah, but the New York is 8 million people, so that's still a significant, a lot. That's a lot of people still.
And you can still, and that doesn't count Connecticut, New Jersey, the whole tri-state area, even if you go to Boston or Philadelphia. So yeah, you have this sort of, it's a large swath of territory for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about did you watch 39 days of World Cup? Did you watch a game, at least one game every day? Were you able to do that?
I watched, so during the final game of the group stage, the 3rd game of the group stage, they play simultaneously, because so that's why you can't
watch them all at the same time. Yeah, I know,
right.
I get it. But did you watch?
But but I watched every other game, so I must have watched, out of the 104 games, I must have easily have watched 96, 97 of them. Yes,
wow.
I'm still married.
Wow, I watched 5.
She is, and she the first weekend of the World Cup, she's like, I'm already sick of this. I go, We got a long way to go. But
I watched this many games and I was sick of it.
Right.
So.
I owe her big time. But I also know you guys were in a part of the country, Chicago area. Chicago didn't host any games, so it was a little bit of which is a shame. Chicago's a great city. I can see why they didn't host it. There's a lot of there's a lot of stuff FIFA demands of host cities, and Chicago just wasn't having it. And I don't blame them. But Chicago hosted in '94 the World Cup. They hosted the opening game and everything else. So Chicago is a major American city.
They can't even figure out how to keep one of their own sports teams, let alone bring in a whole event with other sports teams.
They replaced Chicago with another Midwestern team or Southern team. Was Kansas City, and that became Kansas City was like a big World Cup host, and people loved Kansas City. And Kansas City is a great city for sports, so it's fine. And you knew you were in. If you're watching the World Cup, you knew you were in those cities because they would pan to like random people in the crowd, and it was always like, "Oh, Patrick Mahomes is at the game. What a coincidence!" Stuff like that. I mean, but it was nice to have the World Cup here, and I think it's a prelude to the Olympics, which are coming to LA in 2 years, and not just LA. Various cities around the country are going to host soccer games and other events. So the Olympics are going to be a big deal too in 2 years in LA. So we'll see.
I remember, was it 2010? So World Cup's every 4 years, right?
Yeah, 2010 was in South Africa.
Yeah, 2010. It was 2010 where I told myself, you know what? I'm going to watch soccer. I'm going to watch it. I'm going to try to understand it. I'm going to try to enjoy it. I don't think I even made it out of like the opening, like whatever they call them, the qualifying rounds or whatever they are.
The group stage, yeah.
I couldn't do it. I tried. I really tried. And, there's soccer people and there's not soccer people. And so to your point, making all these fans and people that fall in love with soccer, I'll be interested to see when this hype wears off 6 months from now.
I'll make an analogy.
If it was love or lust.
I'll make an analogy with you. So I think when it comes to the World Cup, it's not like regular soccer. If you're getting up every weekend and watching the Premier League, the leagues in Europe, the Champions League, all these tournaments, club teams,
you got to be diehard.
That's the diehards. The World Cup is a little bit like March Madness or like Olympic hockey. People are just dipping in to watch the U.S. The U.S. wins the gold. They're all excited. Does that translate to, yes, I want to go to a Blackhawks game on Sunday? Probably not. I mean, there's a little bit of residue. The same thing will happen with the World Cup. People got excited about the U.S., about Brazil, about Spain, whatever. But are they going to go to the MLS game next weekend? Are they going to watch Chicago Fire? Right. Probably not. And so it's almost two separate universes. And it's got this March Madness party. I mean, every bar in New York City had the flags out. Every bar had games on. Because if you're a bar, you're like, we got to make money here. Like, this is great. This is 6 weeks of people drinking. So, and people that I know that don't watch any soccer watch the World Cup, but they're not watching other stuff. Same as the Olympics. And when the men and the women won the gold medal, I mean, everybody I knew was watching it. And then a week later, I'm watching TNT on a Tuesday night and nobody else is watching it. Like they're not watching it. We're watching it.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I'll give you that.
So I think that's the analogy. I think, and the people get excited about national team stuff over cities, over NHL or MLS or whatever it is. So just two different audiences. I mean, people in New York, they got the face paint on, all the different host cities. People were it was like one big carnival, but the carnival's leaving town. And you're right. I would say it's mostly lust. But I look at it this way: every 4 years, if you can retain 10% or 5%, that's a lot of people, and the sport grows. I mean, if you remember, if you're old enough to remember 1994 when the U.S. hosted the World Cup, it was literally nobody liked soccer here unless you were what they used to call an ethnic person, which was like an Irish person, Italian, Colombian, that kind of thing. We don't even use that word anymore to describe people, and it was still considered like. Yeah, I remember walking around New York in an Italy T-shirt, and people thought I was a visitor. I was like, I live here. I was born here. I speak English. But now you wouldn't think that.
Like you're wearing a name tag? Like, hello, I'm from Italy.
I remember I went to buy like sneakers I went to like a local sneaker shop to buy sneakers, and I was wearing like an Italy World Cup shirt, and Italy got to the final that year. And people thought I was visiting from Italy. I'm like, no, I live in the neighborhood. I'm just buying sneakers. Like, what's wrong with you people? That's 30 years ago, though. So things change. But yeah, I mean, I'm, it was fun, but I'm glad it's over. It's a lot of work and a
You
lot of,
love soccer. I don't like soccer. We can still be
yeah.
friends. It's cool.
I got a quick, before we move on, I got a quick World Cup 94 story, since it was Chicago did host it, part of it. I remember when Italy won, did they go to the final or the semifinal?
They got to the final and lost to Brazil in the final.
Right. So they got to the final. And I remember I was driving home from work, or I was driving back from the mall or something. And my aunt was like, it was her car. She's like, well, make sure you're home by this time, because I got to drive to work, because she's working at night or whatever. Okay, fine. Well, I'm leaving, and Harlem Avenue is like that's like the street that people would, the street that you like the guys would cruise down on a Friday night. You know what I mean? That was just, right. That was the street, like Harlem Avenue, right? So I'm an idiot. I'm taking Harlem Avenue home. And of course, everyone's out in the street parading, because this area is very heavily Italian, but Italian American, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Not, sure. So everybody just wanted to go out, on and be an a-hole about, hey, Italy, yeah, you know what I mean? And they probably didn't even
the flags
really
out the window, honking the horns, the whole bit.
No, they were just walking in the street, and it took me forever to get home. And I was just like, so so I got a little bit of trouble, because it's like, well, I needed the car. It's like, well, hey, what was I supposed to do? Run over the parade people? Well, it wasn't even like an official parade. It was just people just deciding, hey, we're all going to go in the street and like just block traffic and be like stupid. But the other thing I'll say is a buddy of mine was actually born in Brazil. He grew up here though, but he has Brazilian heritage. And when Brazil won the World Cup, we drove up and down Harlem Avenue, and I was waving a Brazil flag. He had a Brazil flag in his car, and I'm waving it out the window, shouting at people, and everyone's like, F you, right? Or cursing at us, because, like I said, predominantly Italian area. It was just kind of like, just a little bit of good-natured trolling.
Yeah, the World Cup is really about that, right? So, ultimately, it's all good fun, hopefully.
So, you want to talk about Fanatics Fest, because you were there. Did you go Thursday? I know you didn't go Sunday, but did you go Thursday, Friday, Saturday?
I did, yes.
Awesome. So, just to give people a little bit of a recap of just the facts about Fanatics Fest NYC, it took place July 16th through 19th at the Javits Center in New York. So allegedly it was a 1 million feet of convention space. Did you measure? Did you bust out the tape measure? Did you
I didn't, but I can tell you it was, because it's the same space. It's like a little bit like Donald E. Stevens. It's, the space, they have it there every year, but the footprint got larger, and they added, parts that had were cordoned off or not in use last year, which gave the show kind of the one floor is great, and then the other floor is kind of like weird. The one other floor that was weird, they tried to make fill it more, and they did fill it, even though I should admit that Fanatics had a huge booth, and I'm like, okay, it's your show, you don't need a big booth, but the whole point was to get people to do these tasks in that booth and get Fanatics collect on their phone. I'll get into that a little bit later, but every booth was a QR code, and it got really, really annoying after a while. QR codes are back big time now, I think. And every booth had a QR code, and everybody's promising you free stuff when it's just one big data collection mill.
Right.
But it's all meant for you to download an app and do it. So so was it 1 million? It was. And they also added this outdoor food truck component, which I thought was pretty good, because as we know, when we go to these shows, the food options are pretty lousy. So.
Yeah, you're stuck with convention pizza for $9 a slice.
Yeah, and they had that, but then they had these food trucks that were charging, competitive prices, and there's just, there's burgers and there's tacos and there's salads, and just more variety.
So there were a lot of, I read somewhere 400 autograph guests, and there were 10 hockey players. Wow, that's a lot of people. It's a lot of people signing, and it wasn't just athletes either. There were celebrities.
Yeah, I mean, not that they were signing, but between the signers and just people who showed up at a panel or on stage, or just the universe of Fanatics Fest and what it brings in, I'd say about 400. And there's people that showed up that you didn't think were going to show up. Like, for example, Justin Bieber showed up, and no one thought he was going to be there. They didn't announce it, and I actually saw him by mistake. I was standing not far from the CGC booth, and I saw this big crowd of people following this guy and his security, and Justin Bieber was going to the bathroom. and he goes in the bathroom. A big crowd sits up outside, and the police show up and like some people disperse. And I'm thinking the whole time, this guy's in the bathroom, like this is crazy. And then finally he got out and had like rush him out of there. And this is what Fanatics Fest is. It's this whole people pop up anywhere, and then people just go crazy, want to get a selfie with the guy. That's what it is. It's very different from the National.
Yeah, and so Gritty was there too. Did you see Gritty?
I did not. Gritty apparently was there on Sunday. My daughter was there, so she was my eyes and ears on Sunday. She said he was there during the whole Travis Scott mini concert, and they also had the Fanatics games ended. They have these athletes competing with each other, athletes and celebrities, and regular Joes who qualify. And they do all kinds of tasks like try to score a penalty kick, try to do a field goal, try to whatever. They did this last year for the first time, and it adds this sort of competitive component, and also gives an excuse for example, if you're at the NFL booth, all of a sudden Tom Brady shows up because he's got to compete, or so it's a way to get the celebrities and the attendees to mingle in that way, or see them up close. And so, but it's a lot of organized chaos, I would call it, basically.
Yeah, just as long as you stay on your side of the velvet rope, right?
Oh, of course. And there's always some big muscle guy who's gonna, put an elbow in your chest if you get too close, right?
So there were over 250 dealers selling everything from unopened boxes to $1 million cards.
Yep.
I've heard that this isn't really a card show, and last year you said it wasn't really a card show. So how would you classify this as then? Like, is it just?
This is like if you ever market something as a high-end card show, meaning everything here is the cheapest thing might be $500 and up. There isn't any dollar boxes. Oddly enough, it's not just a lot of breakers and dealers, but it's a lot of hobby shops, and they're from all over the country, Florida, Hawaii. I mean, Hawaii is pretty far. There was a card shop from Hawaii there. So it's high end slabs, and it's, like other card shows, it's crowded. A lot of people are buying. That's the thing now. Everyone's got a banner that says buying, like we noticed at the National last year. I noticed that this year here. And it's a lot of teenagers with the Zion cases running around making deals with these dealers. So it almost feels like a dealer convention, not like a regular person like myself or you guys who walk in there. There's nothing for me there. And it's a shame because for me, the show, the big draw for me would be the cards and the collectibles. And that just seems like not a thing we can do. And I also understand it's very expensive to get tables there. I don't know what the price is, but you would be a fool to just put out a table of dollar boxes. You wouldn't make your money back.
Right.
So these guys make their money back probably in the first half day because you're selling cards for thousands of dollars. So there's that. And so that, for me, the convention part of it with the card part, and now it's all mingled throughout the show. It's not just segregated, it's mixed in. That part is not great if you're someone who's looking to buy a $30 card, let's say, or a $50 card. The one thing they did do this year that they finally got their act together on, I thought, was if you went to various booths, like AT&T had a big booth where they did this kind of quiz show where they would have regular people and celebrities, try to kind of Jeopardy style answer questions. A lot of them were about the hobby. But the cool thing about that was they were giving out free packs of like NBA Topps cards, like free packs. Or if you went to the Premier League booth, they give out free hockey cards and packs. So that's something that from the beginning I always asked Fanatics.
Premier League hockey cards?
Premier League soccer. I'm sorry,
soccer. Okay, I was like, what? Okay.
So that's something I always ask Fanatics from year one. It's like, how do you grow the hobby if the people coming here don't care about cards? That you're not even handing out free cards to people or free packs. So finally now in year 3, they've decided, okay, we need to integrate the card part a little bit more into the experience part. Otherwise, people are coming here and not even going to the card area. And now you basically have 2 different shows going on at once. So they're trying to avoid that. And that's become a lot less segregated. It's a strong word, but it's more commingled, more mixed. The thing I noticed about the card part this year that wasn't as big as last year was the breaker area. It seemed like it wasn't nearly as big. So it makes me wonder if they just think the space is better dedicated to high-end slabs. And And then, the Topps booth was another big thing where like celebrities would show up. Cooper Flagg showed up at one point and he signed his 1-of-1 card, and it was like this big show, this big to do. And then they put him on stage and they interviewed him about it, and that drew a lot of people. Same with Derek Jeter. He showed up at the Topps booth and opened Topps baseball from this past year. And then as he's going through packs, he's talking about various players he's encountered, his collecting journey when he was a kid, that kind of thing. So they're trying to make the hobby part more part of the sports part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then did you do any of the these interactive things like the Walk of Fame or any autographs, photo ops, or did you attend any of the panel discussions?
I went to a few panels. The Walk of Fame was this thing where it was basically like a way for celebrities to walk in these sort of barricaded areas so people wouldn't necessarily get too close to them. That's what it was all about. The problem with this Walk of Fame thing is it created bottlenecks, which they tried to avoid last year successfully, I would say. And then this year they created new ones. But I think the celebrities themselves must have demanded, hey, look, we have to have space. We just can't have people crowding us, right? So I think it was at one point the Knicks showed up with the championship trophy and they paraded down this Walk of Fame area, and they got close to the fans because they got close to the barricade, but the fans couldn't cross the barricade. So that's what the Walk of Fame was. The panels were good. The one I really enjoyed was they interviewed Spike Lee, and they talked to him about his movie career, but also about his relationship with sports and the Knicks, but also what his favorite sports movie of all time is. It's Raging Bull, by the way. And just it was interesting to hear him talk about, his career.
He's a filmmaker.
He's a filmmaker, and talk about his career and talk about his love for the Knicks and that kind of thing. And so I like that kind of stuff. Another panel that was really good is they had on Alex Morgan, the former soccer player. She was on with Derek Jeter and Djokovic, the tennis player. And they talked about being competitive and competing at a high level and all the kind of things that you don't always hear from athletes. So those were not really about the hobby. Those were about just athletes and the culture around the athletes. And if you know anything about Comic-Con, this is just a rip off of that, just to have people that make movies, people that make comic books talk about what they do. And this is saying this is a sports version of that. And, I think people like to see that. And Gail King was interviewing them from CBS News.
Mm-hmm.
So they do bring in big names, and some panels are interesting, some are not so interesting. But they're not like the panels you see at the National where like 4 people show up. Like they try to make the panels good. Like LeBron was on a panel. I mean, LeBron was on a panel and like 1,000 people showed up, of course. And, and people show up an hour early because they want to get in there. So they have the names, they have the star power. And so because Fanatics has all these deals with all these athletes and celebrities. And so, this has become now in year 3, I'd say something that there are a lot of people that were there this year for the first time. So it's still growing, I think. But I think it's going to be the kind of show that maybe 5-6 years from now, it'll be a regular part of people's, summer sports diet and basically the beginning of what I would call a busy hobby season, because then you have the National a few weeks later.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I know the first time they did it, 2 weeks after the National?
The first year was in August, and that seemed like they just got any date they could. Yeah.
Right. It was kind of almost not last minute, but it wasn't
close. Yeah, close.
And then last year it was earlier, right?
June? It was in June. And so it was the week before Father's Day. And they told me that this year they moved it a month for the World Cup final, but that next year we'll go back to middle of June again. And that is going to be the date for the next 2-3 years, is the middle of June. They like that date. And it also gives them, it puts it 5 weeks ahead of the National, which is
right.
Not bad. It's better than 10 days ahead of the National.
Yeah, that was ill planned.
Right.
You took some pictures.
I did.
Do you want to talk about these? Because I think for those of you who are listening and not watching the podcast, which is fine, this is an audio podcast, but we also have a video version on YouTube. We'll try to describe these pictures, because one is a picture of, it's a Wayne Gretzky autographed rookie card in this big display case. It's
so
kind of comical almost, like this how this giant cube around this little tiny card,
And they had a security guard saying next to it, and people can walk this red carpet at the CGC booth, because you're all CGC graded cards. The Gretzky card was in the middle of, it was flanked by two other cards. One was on the left was a Hannes Wagner restored card that actually belongs to Keith Olbermann, the former ESPN anchor, and he's selling the card, so it's going to go up for auction. So that was there. Then you had the Gretzky one, then this is the PSA 10 Topps Gretzky rookie card that then I guess was sold, and they cracked it on the PSA slab, and then CGC, he got the person who bought it got it signed by Wayne Gretzky. Then JSA authenticated the autograph, and then it was reslabbed, and it was given a 10, and CGC. There you go. And then you have the next to it was the Mantle Topps card, which it's funny, at any show that would be the centerpiece. At this booth, it was like the third best card there, probably. So, so it tells you where the hobby is grown. I mean, I remember at the National a couple of years ago, the Atlantic City National, the Topps Mickey Mantle card was like the card on display that everybody wanted to see, and now it's like the third card between Gretzky and Hans Wagner. So the hobby's grown. There's more interest. There's more ways to monetize your cards by getting them graded. In this case, breaking the slab, getting it autographed, reslabbing it, and all of a sudden it's like, it's like, how do I multiply what I already have, this asset I have, and make it worth even more? So that was cool just to see. That's the thing about Fanatics, is a little bit like the National, is that there's all these museum type pieces, either at Heritage or at the various booths. So you go there. Like, I'll be honest, I've been going to the Fanatics Fest 3 years. I covered all 3 years. I don't think I've ever bought anything, because you don't need to buy anything. I mean, you just go for the fun, the experience. And in this case, I went just to see stuff that you normally wouldn't see, right? So this stuff is cool to see up close. And then the other photo next to it that's the Topps booth, which was very popular because they were giving out free stuff, and they also had people show up on the stage. And they're giving out free cards to people, and this is right after Derek Jeter was on the stage. And I just took a picture of it because just everywhere you went, it was either long lines or it was tightly packed. So you had to sometimes just get out of that space. I mean, it was so bad at the Topps booth that I just didn't even go there on Saturday. I was like, I'm not going to stay there. And like in some of these areas, the air conditioning was really not functioning at a high level because there's so many people. So I would just say, I'm out of here. I'm just going to go back to the edges of the show. And along the edges, if it was less crowded, and I would say there's a lot of bottlenecks. It was very tight. So yeah, 1 million square feet is true, but they packed it in too much. I think they need to create more open space. But you had new booths this year that you didn't have last year. Like Target had a big booth. And
what?
Yeah, Target had a big booth because remember at the National, Walmart had one. So
I know, but like Target and Walmart, but like Target, they always they almost seem bothered by the fact that they have sports cards.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like
they are.
Yeah,
they are until they're not. They are until they're not, though, right? Because maybe the employees are bothered, but corporate, they were giving out this branded kind of like big gym bag. It was canvas, and it was co-branded with the logos of Target and Fanatics, and they were giving them out for free, and people were they couldn't get enough of these bags. So yeah, it's interesting that you say that they are bothered by it, but then when they have a chance to be at a show, they're at a show.
Yeah, all the people that work for the company are bothered by it.
Right. Not
I'm sure the corporate people that are lining their pockets with Fanatics money are not bothered by it.
Yeah, but they like Target doesn't even stock the cards themselves. It's like a third party that does the
same for Walmart, but they were still doing the giveaway last year. Remember the giveaway at the National? They gave out the Messi card in the bag.
Yeah, I remember.
And it was a Leaf card that they had overproduced. Then they slabbed them and they put them in these free bags that you then get at store. And that's all they were doing at Walmart. It was a branding exercise. Same thing with Target. It was a branding exercise. What I'm saying is, though, Raising Cane's had a big booth, right? So you have these big names that have booths, but they take up a lot of space. And for them, it's a branding thing. It's like, oh, I need to be seen here. If 200,000 people are going to show up over the course of 4 days, does it really hurt for us to give out a few thousand bags and have a presence here? I mean, heck, we're talking about it now. So it's a free commercial for them, So it's interesting why people are there. Everyone's there for a different reason. which makes it a little bit mishmashy in my opinion. But at the National, everyone's there because they care about sports cards and memorabilia. That's here. It's like you could ask 100 different people why you're here, and you get 100 different answers.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I gotcha. Speaking of 100 different people, so these next couple of photos, one shows a crowd, pretty big crowd.
Waiting for my moment.
You're waiting for your oh yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna give you a moment right here, Tim. So
let's keep it rolling. It's fine.
Okay. The photo on the left is basically you can't even see it. That's the card show part. You can't even see a table in that picture because it's a massive humanity, and it's just that's all high end stuff. And then the other photo is basically an area that was close to the card place where they had some breakers and Backyard Breaks was there. Our friends from Backyard Breaks, they were there. A lot of people were there. A lot of the brands who but the breaker part, like I said, was not as hopping as I think just the high end we're buying area. But it was so crowded that it made for a very unenjoyable experience, I thought. And part of going to a card show is being able to look at the cases and kind of be able to freely walk, and a lot of that was difficult to do. And if you have to just hover, it's just not a good experience. And I don't know how you fix that other than you expand the area, but you don't bring in more people. I mean, I think that's the thing. The whole thing's a hype fest. Everything's about, like for example, every day on social media and Instagram and various other social media channels, Fanatics would post the percentage of tickets they had sold that day to basically create urgency. Like, oh, we're 90%, we're almost sold out. Now, if those numbers are true, who knows? I mean, nobody knows. As long as they don't break the fire marshal, code here in terms of capacity, they can sell as many tickets as they want. But are they really 90% sold out? Just so you see that and run over there onto the Javits Center in New York because you feel like you want to be part of it. The other thing too is if you're on social media, they have a really great social media machine. And in addition to that, a lot of the media that comes to this is not really media. It's TikTokers, YouTubers, and they're hyping this thing on social media. And then you're home scrolling, and if you live in New York or in the New York area, you're like, I should go to this. Like, there's a lot of, I feel like I'm missing out. LeBron gave this kid a hug, or the Knicks let fans touch the trophy and lift the trophy, the NBA title, whatever. Or, so there's all this stuff that's happening that's meant to get you to show up. And you could go there and be very disappointed because you might not experience any of that stuff. It's just kind of on a whim. You can't go there with a plan. Now, if you want to get autographs, you can do that. I mention this now because Jalen Brunson, who was obviously the big hero for the New York Knicks championship this year, he was charging $1,000 for a photo op. Yes, $1,000, and it sold out within hours.
$1,000 for a selfie.
Just so you know, he also had a signing, and they canceled the signing just to make the photo op longer because they're literally making $1,000 every 15 seconds. I mean, how long does it take a picture? 20 seconds. Autographs take too much time. They were like, and he's a Fanatics athlete, so they can do whatever they want with him. And he was there, and he took pictures of people, and people, I talked to people who said it was worth it. It was like once in a lifetime. You hear that a lot, once in a lifetime. Then you realize it's every year, or it's every other week. Something like this is going on. $1,000. I've never seen anything like that at the National or any show I've ever been at where the photo op or even autograph, in this case just a photo op, was $1,000. It was $970 plus tax, so it was $1,000. I know it's quiet. It got quiet in here really quick.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Tim I'm waiting to see the smoke start coming out of Tim's ears because he has a fever.
If people have people have money that they want to waste, then go ahead, do it. Maybe to them, $1,000 is not anything. Look, I can't, and I'm sure there's plenty more to talk about here, but
let me just add this: $1,000 to get a photo with somebody. By the way, there's no autograph. Number two, that photo has no value only to you because you frame it and put it in your house. But nobody wants to buy a photo of Jalen Brunson and Aunt Mildred. Like, nobody cares who's this person in the photo. That's only for you. So that's the kind of thing that it's all based on sentimentality. It's not based on resale or it's a hobby thing or collectible. It's not really a collectible. It's a personalized thing. And
Yep.
so,
A
and the
certain
fact that,
person that has that money burning a hole in their pocket and
yeah, and just
absolutely has to do it.
yeah, but if a few hundred people were willing to do it and they sold out, and Fanatics made a ton of money just on that one athlete for a few hours, this show is often considered a money loser. But if you think about it, it's just one big commercial for Fanatics. If Fanatics bought billboards around the country, they spend money, right? At least here, they're like, we're going to throw a big party and we're going to have people talk about it, and they'll keep coming back year after year. And the show gets bigger and bigger every year. I just don't know where the limits are. I mean, I took my daughter with me last year because she's young and I needed a person to give me a gut check because otherwise I'm gonna be like yelling at clouds, that kind of thing. Old man screaming at clouds. And she thought last year was better because she thought, oh, there's too many lines, there's too much shoving, there's too much of this. And in a way, they like that. They like that people run to, there's like groups of people running to things and a lot of hype being created. And they're flirting with danger in some ways because they're flirting with a stampede at some point, I think. But it's just the kind of thing where there's this kind of hype machine already always working, always in function. And it's a little overwhelming in terms of even trying to cover it, even trying to talk about it here with you guys. It's like, yeah, what didn't happen here? I mean, I was at the show all day, and then you come home and you go on social media, and you're like, I didn't even know that happened. Like, there's things that are happening. You can't be everywhere. And it's, every night, Fanatics sends the media. I'm going to draw the curtain here for people who are not reporters, not journalists. They send a recap every night of like the top 20 things that happened because you couldn't know everything that happened there. You couldn't see everything. So I mean, I was covering it in terms of a hobby perspective, so I just knew to be in certain places, where I thought, okay, there might be some stories here. The Topps booth is a good example because there might be hobby stuff going on here as opposed to what am I going to do at the Target booth? Get a free bag? Like, I don't need to be there. So it's just a little overwhelming, and ultimately you don't know, what the point of any of this is. But I wouldn't say the hobby part is a big part of it. It's a part of it, but it's not the only part of it. And people have told me that Comic-Con's even more crowded than this. So this is tame, apparently, by comparison. I'm talking about Comic-Con in New York, not San Diego.
Right. So what's this We the Hobby? I see one has a sign that says We the Hobby, WTH.
Yeah, I think they're breakers, and they've been at the National and other places too. And they just had a really huge booth at the end of these aisles where they had these dealers. I just took a picture of that because there's actually some breathing room there.
Yeah, I could tell. It's a nice picture. It's an interesting picture. I mean, a lot of bad people, but that's going to happen anyways. But at least you can kind of see what's going on.
Also PSA was there getting submissions. It was, busy there like it is at the National.
I'm pretty sure WTH is one of the biggest Fanatics Live people.
I'm sure.
Okay. Yeah,
that's the thing too. A lot of it was people that you see on Fanatics Live and their whole.
Yeah, if they're not the biggest, they're definitely top 3.
Yeah, for example, you're not going to see eBay at this because eBay's competing with that. So eBay is not at this show. eBay's going to be at the National, but they're not here. So there's a lot of if not everyone's Fanatics related, but there's a lot of Fanatics adjacent people for sure. Like clearly Target is doing something with Fanatics because why are they co-branding, bags to give out? Something is going on there that we don't maybe know fully. But yeah, it's a lot of it is resellers, dealers, and hobby shops that get allocation. A lot of them are here from the New York area, especially. And we speculate they need to be here. They're told to be there, but I think they're there because it probably does work out for them because they got a lot of people walking through the door, more than you would get in your neighborhood shop on a sleepy Sunday afternoon, maybe.
Okay, I just gotta say one thing, and not to backtrack. But this is gonna be the last thing I have to say about the whole Jalen Brunson thing, because it's bothering me, and I don't even know what my thought process is here. But I'll just say this: I'm the last person to tell people what to do with your money. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But just like when you walk into a tattoo parlor drunk and they tell you go away and come back sober, I feel like these are the kind of people that should be like, don't go to Fanatics Fest. you will be fleeced of your money. You will end up with a no regrets tattoo, and you will have regrets.
Well, let me ask you this. Like, I'll play devil's advocate and say this. Like, if you're a huge Knicks fan, and I know I'm saying something that isn't true, which is, well, when am I going to get a picture of Jalen Brunson? Probably next year at Fanatics Fest. But
Yeah.
I get that. But in the moment, they have FOMO. They want it now, and I hope they have the money.
Exactly.
If they're putting on the credit card, then I'm telling them don't do that. But if you have the money, look. We all have our vice. Like,
And that's why I said I'm not going to tell you what
Right.
to do. But if
Right.
you're stone cold drunk and you think getting, your mom's name and a rose and a shark tattooed on your left nipple is a great idea, it is right that moment.
But you might have regrets a couple of months later, a week
Oh,
later,
yeah.
whatever.
Oh, you're going to. Absolutely.
Yeah, because
Especially when it scabs over.
yeah, no, I understand. What bothered me about it is they're creating new ceilings because who says next year Jalen Brunson can't charge $200? That seems ridiculous. I mean, you could in the year he doesn't win the NBA title, but is this gonna? I have sort of a list in my head of like hobby events that I find to be awful, and one of the biggest was the one, and we all remember this from the National a couple of years ago, the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I'll sign your card, but we'll grade it on site, and we won't even grade it. We'll have my agent just eyeball the card and give it a grade, and then we'll set the price based on the grade that this woman who doesn't know anything about cards will tell you what it is. That was pretty bad. This is worse because $1,000 for a photo op is crazy, and it's sold out within hours. That's even crazier.
Yeah.
So anyway.
It's not. I don't know if the plan was to discuss any of the particulars or not of this, but I was reading ahead of time on this and Ruben did an interview where he basically said, I'm paying $10 million for appearance fees. Right. So he's paying 500 plus, what do we say? 500 athletes, celebrities, whatever.
400.
Yeah.
So he's paying over $10 million of appearance fees for all of these athletes and celebrities to show up to this event. Okay, fine. They got to be there. They're under contract. They're being paid. Cool. Not counting the ones that are already spokespeople, like the Tom Brady's of the world.
Who's already on the payroll, probably.
Who's already on the payroll. Exactly. So those guys, they come in for X fee dollars, whatever they're getting paid. They have to sign so many autographs in so many times, take so many pictures, blah, 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 whatever it is. Those price ranges are from $100 to $1,000, right? So you look at the budget overall for all of this, and I think it was like $80 to $90 million for this whole thing was set up.
Sure.
Right.
I believe that's possible. Yeah.
They lost money the first year. They lost money the second year.
Correct.
They don't care, obviously, that they lose money because, as you've already said, that's not what this is about. And my whole thing has always been, and we've said this since the inception of this, what is this supposed to be? Who is this for? We've asked that question numerous times. And you've gone to it every year. And I think we always come back to this question. What is this supposed to be? And who is this for? And the thing is, you take a look back on this, and you've brought up many of these points, Clemente, already. Is this event, we're no longer looking at this as a hobby, right? This is hobby tangential. This isn't the hobby, right? So if we're looking at this to say, hey, this is part of the hobby. This is a card show. This is, collectibles. This is that. No, it absolutely unequivocally is not. And this tells us that. And my hang up on this always has been, if we can't get a clear-cut answer as to what this is supposed to be, because here's the thing, you look at it, and don't get me wrong. Okay, label me a hater all you want. Everybody knows I'm a hater. That's fine. It's not a big deal. I understand. I shouldn't be mad or upset at what this is. I'm upset that I don't really know what this is. And that's that's part of the thing. I like fan interaction. I love that stuff. I think it's great. And I didn't go, and everybody knows I'm no longer on social media really. So my witnessing of all of this that took place was over YouTube videos and the occasional people texting me or sending me emails or a few newsletters and things like that I've read. I stayed off of X. I stayed off of Instagram. I don't go on Facebook anymore. Like none of that. I got any of my content. It was mostly all from YouTube, and everything that I saw, it didn't seem like anyone at all was focused on the collectible part of any of it. It had nothing to do with that. And the stuff that was going on in that picture there, where it's the card show area, it wasn't anything
The
that's
collectors,
in
the
my
collectors zone.
wheelhouse or anyone I know's wheelhouse.
They call it the
Because to
collector
me,
zone.
it just looked like all the people that I know and I'm aware of that are the collectors and are the people that are the hobbyist type people and stuff that went to these for that. They went in, they got a couple things that they wanted. They did their trades that they set up ahead of time. They grabbed their freebies and they got the what out of there. Because beyond that fan interaction, you're not going to this as a card show. The card show to me is almost a forgotten thing in my mind at a show like this, because to me, it should be one or the other, because you can't really combine both when your whole entire thing is this hype machine of the experience. Let it be the experience. If you want to add some little thing off to the side or something, fine. But if you're going to blow this up to try to make it a card show too, where the only focus is these 5-figure, 6-figure, cards that are changing hands.
Yeah, you price out everybody else. I mean,
yeah,
even a
you
beginner.
get rid of the collector. If you're trying to bring in the
Right.
there ain't no collector there. That's not the people that are in here, and it's just too much of the of the fake stage stuff. I saw so much of that it just got ridiculous to me. It's like this show is pleasing all the people that like to hover around the hobby like it's some kind of alternative asset for them, rather than collecting and doing their thing. And it's like, and that's fine. And I'd love to go to one of these, to go to the experience and see all the cool stuff and maybe get a glimpse of one of the athletes. But you know how many times I saw people videoing one of the panels, right?
Yep.
And you'd see a video in the panels and there'd be different camera angles and stuff like that. But ones with the people in the back, where you'd see some people there was like a seating area for some people in a certain part.
Yeah.
And like there were people sitting there, but how many people you would just see coming in from all the different angles? Just they'd walk into frame, they'd take a picture, they'd walk out of frame.
Right.
They'd walk in, film for like 30 seconds, walk out. And it was constant in almost everybody's videos that they were posting. It was just, and I couldn't stop watching it. I quit watching the videos for the content and started watching for all the ridiculousness going on around the periphery. And I'm like, what is this? It's like these people are just bopping in and out to take their photo, to take their video, to take their clip, to post it on TikTok, to post it on their YouTube short, to post it on whatever, just as social proof that they saw this athlete or whatever. It's like, sit there and listen to what they have to say, for God's sake.
Okay, so yeah, so you hit on a good point here. 2 points you hit on.
Sorry, I'm on a rant. Stop.
No, but I want to address what you said, because you gave me an opening that's good.
Please do
because so one was, when this was first created, let's not forget, the whole idea was the cards are the centerpiece, and the rest of the people will come in, dabble in other stuff, and then get into cards. It turns out that's not what's happening. People are coming in, and if you care about cards, great. But if you don't, there's very little overlap. If you give, my daughter was there, and she's not into cards. She got a lot of free packs of cards. She opened them. She went through them. She thought it was cool. She tossed them. She doesn't care, right? These were just common cards, whatever, base cards of some NBA players or whatever. So in the moment, but she's not going to turn into a card collector. So the original idea was this is really a card show, and then we're going to add these other pieces around it. It turns out it's not mixing. It's like when you put the colors and the whites in the washing machine, you know, you got to stay separate in some ways, because it's not 10xing the hobby. It's not working. The other original idea was this was going to be a traveling show. Remember, it was going to be in
I never got
Orlando and in Pittsburgh, and then it was going to be maybe in LA, and then one in London. They told me this past spring, oh, that idea, we scrapped that idea. And as you know, Fanatics Events laid some people off a couple of years ago because they realized we can't do this show at this scale for this much money in 12 American cities. Are you crazy?
Not if it's costing 80 to 90 million every time they throw it on.
So they want to either go big or go home. So like, well, we can't go big. So this is gonna become an annual event in New York City, and it's gonna not compete with the national. It's just different from the national, and there's room for everybody, and blah blah blah. And that's probably what it is. But Fanatics owns a lot of things. For example, there's a whole area that I saw last year, and it was again this year. It was a whole bar area with food and drinks. You had to be 21 to come in. Why? Not just to drink, but it was the sports book. The Fanatics sports book was there. So people are in there gambling. So now you have people that went there just to drink and gamble. They're not buying cards. They don't care. They don't care about Jalen Brunson autographs. They're just there for that, maybe. Now, I went there with the idea of trying to dabble into everything because I was curious. And like, for example, I would look at the schedule in the morning and go, oh, Spike Lee is going to be on a panel. I want to go to that. I'll sit there for 45 minutes and watch it. But you're right. People were just going in and doing what you said, because we live in a world where people want to post a 15-second clip. Just let the world know, oh, I saw LeBron, but you really didn't see him. You were there for 15 seconds, then you left. This reminds me of the World Cup. We talked about the World Cup. I knew people that went to the World Cup. They don't know anything about soccer, and maybe they were curious. They just wanted to put on social media that they had been to the game and they had spent $12,000 for a ticket, so they can tell people, I'm at this game. I'm a big shot. You're a nobody. You're home. You're home watching on a stool somewhere, right? So, and like the World Cup, Fanatics Fest is the same way. There was VIP. They get better seats. They get better access. Then there was like the 3-day pass people. They get a little bit more, but not as much as VIP. Then there's just the single day people. They get nothing, basically. Then there's media. Then they get thrown out of everything. I got having a media pass just gets you in for free, but there's no access here. Like they don't really care about. They care about the TikTokers and the YouTubers who are filming, because that's where they're getting the eyeballs and the free publicity. They're not getting it from my story that appears on a Monday in a magazine on a website that only hobbyists read. So
yeah, and that's you nailed that one on the head, because from the very beginning, it always seemed like the one thing that they got right was they were listening to feedback that they were getting for some of the things that they were doing. And, look, I'm not going to be one of those people that bows down to those that say, I'm not allowed to have an opinion because I wasn't there and I didn't see it and I didn't experience it. You're right. I didn't. But I can still have an opinion as an onlooker to all of this. And yeah, I will give them credit. They were responsive to feedback. But here's the thing. At this point, I question who is it they were listening to, because it surely wasn't a collector's voice. It's the people on the payroll is who they were listening to. They were listening to the influencers. They were listening to the people that sell their product. And really, if you're just keeping everything internal and just spreading it out amongst your own stuff, it's still your own stuff. I mean, look, it's their event. They can do whatever they want, and I get it. But I just want the identity. I want them to come out and say, look, this is what this is. Like, this is what this is. Because, again, it started off as one thing. It might have been something else. We thought it might have been something. And it's here we are in, year after year after year. And we get to the point where, okay, well, we made the card show bigger, but nobody can afford to buy anything in there except all of the influencers and people that are staging things and setting things up ahead of time.
But that's all you need, because they would point to my photo and go, well, clearly people are here. I mean, this is the old Yogi Berra quote, right? Like, it's so crowded, nobody goes there anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, but they're getting the people they want. It's a fishbowl.
Fanatics wins. They will always win
They will always
because they
win.
hold all the cards. It doesn't matter if they do well in this event or not. They lost $15 million the first year on a $50 million budget. This time it was 80 or 90 million. You spent 10 million to get all the signers to come in and do all of that. They'll probably make 15 million off of gate receipts. What is it, 70, 80 bucks a ticket to get into this thing?
70 for one day, right?
Yeah, so they expected what, 200,000 people to show up.
A 3-day pass was $200. So
yeah, so you figure you'll make like 15 million off of that. They're obviously not making their money off tickets. So where are they making their money? They're making it off of everything else. They're making it off of the sponsorships, all their, like you said, the QR codes, the what do they call them? The brand activations.
Yes,
you know, they're going to make it off the photo ops, the autograph fees, the just the event itself, the merchandise, all of that.
The whole thing's a commercial, basically.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly what it is. It's just a commercial. It's a commercial for them. And again, it doesn't matter how much money they lose because they still win. They're a well-known brand. You can have your opinion on their products and what they do and how they've made the hobby better or ruined the hobby or whatever it is, but they're smart. They figured it out.
Yeah.
This is a marketing tool for them to promote their brand, their products, their people, their content, their stuff, everything else. And have they grown the hobby? Sure. I'm sure they have. Have they 10x'd it? I seriously doubt it.
I doubt that, but it has grown in that there are a lot of people that are, and maybe they're dipping in, dipping out. I agree. Now, the one thing I did notice at the National last year, which is a good segue, I guess, to the National, is I noticed that a lot of these brands at the National, like eBay and some other people, they were trying to get celebrities to come to their booths just to create buzz. And we saw last year the Giannis brothers were at the eBay booth, created a lot of buzz. Now, the National people are not necessarily planning that or promoting that. It's the individual corporate booths that want that because they realize, well, we need eyeballs in our space, and Fanatics seems to do that on a large scale. So I think at the National, when we go in 2 weeks, I wouldn't be surprised that some of the activations, some of the booths are going to have celebrities. I mean, at the National last year, I saw Bo Jackson and Flavor Flav run past me, and I'm like, because the Bo Jackson booth was a big deal, which no one saw that coming. That wasn't on my hobby bingo card, but that never happened at the National. I'm like, this is a Fanatics Fest infesting the National in some way, but not because the organizers of the National care. They have a great brand. They don't need to hype anything. I think the individual corporate booths are like, how do we get social media presence? How do we build on that? And I think at the National, we're going to see some of that, and we're going to be, especially with this new layout, and they're going to have corporate booths upstairs, some of them, and we'll see what they do. But I wouldn't be surprised if individual signers show up at various booths, but it's always happened, but on a much, much bigger scale with more TikTokers and YouTubers filming it, because that's really where the content is. It's not journalism. It's this content that's basically, these people are on the payroll. It's all filtered. It's all, meant to be a commercial for those companies. It's not something that you regard as journalism that's independent. It's going to be critical. It's none of that is going to be there.
Right. And, I mean, we've seen this shift, especially with Topps and Fanatics, where, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, maybe even 5 years ago, it was like you were with the media. They wanted you to cover their thing. Now Topps just wants to tell their own story. Fanatics doesn't really, okay, if Beckett Magazine covers it, if Sports Collectors Digest covers it, if the Hockey News covers it, yeah, okay, that's great. But really, we're just going to put it on TikTok and get like 5 million people to look at it there, right? That's what they care about now. It's like they want to control their own narrative.
Message. Yep.
Control the message. And that's what all these companies want to do is like, I mean, Clemente, you've probably in your many years as a journalist have had at least one person say, could I read the story before it goes to press?
Right.
And you got to tell them, no, it's against our publication's policy.
Right.
really, you're trying to don't want to say something mean, so you just go, oh, it's against the policy. But yeah, I mean,
because they want to know before it gets published, can we make changes? Now you're my editor, so basically you control the content. And
right. We want to finesse
but
it. We want to,
but the Instagram and TikTok and YouTube equivalent of that is you do nice things, so you get access.
Right.
And they want to maintain that access. In some cases, Tim is right. They're probably getting paid, or it's not journalism, and no one's pretending it is. But we're competing in that universe now, and what the people are getting is just basically what they think is content or original content or something that would be equal to journalism, and it's actually not. It's actually very much an ad. And if you look through your Instagram feed, if you're into the hobby like we are, most of what you see is an ad. I mean, I get press releases now from all kinds of companies where there's a press release, there's all this stuff in it, and you read it and you're like, okay, that's not even a story. I'm not even going to pitch it. At the very bottom, I've noticed now, especially on some of the Panini stuff and some of even top stuff, it'll even have a line saying, if you choose not to write a story, can you just post about this on your Twitter or Instagram?
Mm-hmm.
So that's all they care about is a mention. They don't even need a full story in a publication or in a newspaper or in a magazine or on a website. They just need you mentioning it, talking about it, tagging them. Like, that's all they care about. And they can say,
buttering the airwaves.
Exactly. You're just throwing it out there in this cesspool of information that we all, deal with on a day-to-day basis. So I know Tim is not on social as much as he used to be. And trust me, you're not missing anything other than what you already know, which is things that lines are blurred, and Fanatics is leading the charge on that. So for sure.
Yeah. And that's part of where the frustration lies, is not that they can't have their event. I think they should. Like I said, I'd love to go, because this is what this is. This is probably the biggest fan festival in the entire world. And there's experiences available for fans that you're not going to be able to get anywhere else. There's not a Disney World for sports fans, that you can go to and ride rides that are sports related and things like that.
Right.
So, but that's what it is. It's a giant promo tool for everyone to talk about for months and months and months, and suck the air out of every room with everybody talking about it. And yeah, I don't think I am missing anything with social media, because it's never going to change, because it is just this vapid space of everybody just doing whatever they think they're supposed to be doing for small, tiny bits of moments in time, rather than bringing out the real content and figuring out what everything really is. So that's why you get all of these droves of 12 and 13-year-olds with their cases and thinking that this is what the hobby is. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to not sit here and be the only one that is thinking to himself, am I the only one that thinks that everything just jumped the shark? Like, we're so far past, and we've experienced it multiple times, where the hobby's like, maybe not multiple times, but we've experienced it at least once where the hobby boomed. We were obviously much younger then, but it boomed. I don't remember it booming like this. I mean,
I want to say we're almost in a second surge now. I don't see, just from what I see in terms of numbers, grading numbers, what I see at this show, I just see a lot of interest still. And I'm not saying it's not a bubble, but if it is, it's very sustained. It's lasting. The bubble's getting bigger, which means maybe when it bursts, it's going to be even bigger. I just think.
But what is it interested in, though? Is it interested in the hobby, or is it interested in the celebrity portion of it?
That part. But the celebrity portion means I might want to get a basketball that's signed, or I want to get a photo and pay $1,000 for. That keeps the wheels moving, even if it's not the
one-upsmanship, basically.
It's the one, and that's never going to go away, because everything, we talked about this, right, Sal, maybe a couple of years ago now. It's all about posting the card on your Instagram because it's a hobby flex. It's not just a hobby flex. Your entire Instagram feed, your friends, everybody, your family, they're all flexing. Maybe not everybody, but they're all flexing. I'm at the country. I'm at the beach. You're not. Like everything's a flex.
I'll flex right now. Look at that. I bet you don't have a Steve Durbano. Yeah.
I knew that was Steve Durbano without even seeing the name. The name was kind of blurry when you held it up to the camera, and I was like, "Is that Steve?"
Was it the hair?
It's the hair and the mustache.
It's the mustache and the hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I want to move on. I want to move on to the autograph guests before we move on to the national. I want to just talk really quick about the autograph guests that were at Fanatic Fest, particularly the hockey guests. So you had Matthew Barzal, Ken Danico, Marc-Andre Fleury, Jack Hughes, Luke Hughes, Quinn Hughes, Patrick Kane, Henrik Lundqvist, Brock Nelson, and Alex Ovechkin. I'd say overall it's a pretty impressive lineup, especially when we talk a little bit later about what hockey guys are going to be at the national, or hockey players, I should say, because there's one women's Olympic hockey player that'll be signing autographs at the national. But I look at this and I go, wow, Marc-Andre Fleury, Henrik Lundqvist, Alex Ovechkin, Quinn Hughes, Jack Hughes, Patrick Kane. I mean, that's friggin' awesome.
So let me say this. There's parts of Fanatics Fest I do like. Even though it's a 4-day show, I pretty much can live with a day and a half of it. After that, it just becomes repetitive and overwhelming and ridiculous. The parts I do like include this. I mean, the hockey signers are great. When Ovi was there, I think it was on Saturday, there are legions of fans walking in there with Caps jerseys because they probably came up from Washington because he doesn't sign all that much. And I want to say at one point he was at Tom Brady booth opening cards. He went to the NHL activation. He was shooting pucks there. And the NHL booth was nice. It was very big, different from last year. They got rid of the whole washing machine thing. They after 2 years of that, they moved on from that. And he was there shooting pucks. And if you like hockey and you're watching also Ovechkin shooting pucks, like up like 5 feet away, 10 feet away from him, that's pretty cool. So stuff like that, you get his autograph. That's super cool. Like whatever. I mean, he's probably closer to the end of his career. He realizes, hey, this is a cash cow here. I should get in on this. And like Yager is doing, at the national. We'll talk about that soon. So it's good to see these names. I mean, the other one was Jack Hughes. Everyone wanted to get Jack Hughes' autograph after what happened at the Olympics. But he was charging $220. They were charging $220 for Jack Hughes autographs for flats. And I wanted to get the Topps Knock card signed. I thought it would be so cool. I actually got that card with all that white space thinking, oh yeah, this will be great to get signed. I didn't get it signed. I'm not spending $200+ to get one autograph. If you're Jack Hughes, no disrespect, that autograph may never go up in value. It's only $200. It's a lot of money. Like this isn't like an autograph that you get for $50, $60, $100. Like this is a lot of money. And I think the cheapest autograph there was $200. So
go on eBay and look for Jack Hughes autos.
It's not $220, right? I mean, or is it?
No,
because the hockey, I don't know.
There's plenty that aren't. Let's put it that way.
Okay. So, I mean, if I pulled a card of him already signed, like out of a box, I don't think I can get $220 for it. Maybe I could. I don't know. I don't think so. So, okay, sure, you get to meet him for 8 seconds. You shake his hand. He smiles at you with his new teeth, and it's all great. And you said you met him, and they take a picture of him. You can't even take a picture with him because he's doing photo ops. Then that's separate. That's another $150 or whatever it is. So it's pay to play. Like you have to pay to play, or you go home. But I will say I'm impressed with the roster, and I don't know why the National can't do this. And I want to kudos to Lundqvist. He was at the Dick's Sporting Goods booth, not doing autographs, but he was taking pictures of people for free. Okay, Dick's paid him, and people were going in there taking pictures with him on I think it was Friday afternoon for like an hour. And so kudos to him. Like, sure, he's compensated. He's been a Fanatics athlete for years now, and classy guy, of course, always well dressed. And I wasn't there, but I had friends of mine who took pictures with him, and he was super nice, and he didn't charge. Like they paid him, but you get to go to the Dick's booth. So then there's Dick's branding, obviously. You got to get a QR code. They got to take all your data, whatever. Everything was a QR code. I think I mentioned that earlier. So everything was a QR code, and because in order for them to say, yes, X number of people came to our booth and interacted with us, we came away with 1,500 names, and they all have our app now. like this is good for the future, So, but if you're going to bring in an athlete, you might say, you know what, we live in a world where privacy is dead anyway. If I get a picture with King Heinrich and they want to sell my data, so let them. I speak to younger people all the time. They don't care about that. Like, we care about privacy because we grew up in a different era. They don't care. They live online. They don't have any privacy. They've forsaken that.
They've resigned themselves to the fact that
Yes.
Nothing is private anymore. So
Correct.
they're just like, everyone has my data anyways. What does it matter if I download this app and it's taking my, what I mean? They're just like, and when I ask my students about what do you think about the Chinese government taking your data, they're like, well, the American government already has all our data. What does it matter?
Right.
Like,
this is a larger conversation we're not going to have here, but this trust. But it shows the state of mind. And what I want to say too about this show is that Gen Zers and millennials they love this show, but Gen Xers like us, we're in the middle, and then boomers are probably not going to the show. That's more the national, or boomers and Gen Xers, and then some millennials. So there was definitely a generational divide. And I tell you where that divide came at Fanatics Fest. It was coincided with the World Cup final. There were a lot of soccer fans there. There are a lot of people that love soccer. A lot of young Americans like soccer. You go to the national and there's like no soccer. So much so that there's a separate soccer show in Chicago now that same weekend just to have soccer stuff, because soccer is so not well represented at the national, because there's still a large collector base that's boomer generation. Gen X, they like baseball. They like baseball to the point where it doesn't reflect the national love for baseball anymore. But the national, you would think it was a baseball show still. And in reality, baseball, in terms of TV ratings, lags far behind. So these two shows, I think, are also show that divide. Hockey, I think, is somewhere in the middle. I mean, having a lot of these guys are local to the New York market, right? They're Devils or Rangers or whatever, that combination. Islanders. So, and then you have Ovechkin's in DC, not too far. And then you have guys that are either local or they have that Olympic crossover. I mean, having all the Hughes brothers there is cool. If you want to get all their autographs, you probably have to go into debt.
And Patrick Kane being the all-time leading scorer among U.S.-born players, I mean, I thought that was a coup right there, because, I mean, you got Ovechkin, who all-time goals leader, and you got Kane, all-time American-born scorer. I mean,
and you're coming off an Olympics, so it works.
Yeah, and I mean, the thing is like, and one thing real quick, I just want to correct myself. There were two other signers. I clicked on NHL. So that's who I saw, but there are also two women Olympic players, Hillary Knight and Megan Keller, were also at Fanatics Fest. But you know what? I've not seen Patrick Kane do an autograph signing in Chicago other than the Blackhawks conventions from 2008 to, I think 2019 was maybe the last one they did. Yeah, because they canceled 2020 due to COVID. And then they haven't done one since. But he would do the Blackhawk conventions, but those were like, you'd have to like get a scratch and win to get his autograph. And like, they'd give everybody basically a scratch and win. And they'd say, you get an autograph from a VIP who's signing Saturday at 2 p.m. And you didn't know who it was, And then later on, I think they started telling people who it was going to be. And then that was a little better than just a surprise. But yeah, I mean,
I look, signs his 1-year contract. He'll be back.
Yeah. Better 1 year than one game or one shift, right? I mean, I look at this and I go, you know what? Like, if Marc-Andre Fleury is at the National, that'd be awesome. Alex Ovechkin, Patrick Kane, Jack Hughes, politics aside, awesome, right? Like, I would love all of these guys to be at the National. Quinn Hughes, you know what I mean? Hell, I love Ken Danico, and it says here free photo op, so I don't think he was signing autographs, but like, if like Ken Danico was signing at like a show for like $30, I would get like 5 things signed just so I could go talk to Ken Danico, because he's just cool, you know what I mean? Like, maybe not a big draw in like Chicago, obviously a bigger draw in Jersey in the tri-state area for obvious reasons.
Let me add this. At the second floor of the show, a lot of the tables and booths activations on that floor were New York teams. So like the Sirens had a booth, the Devils had one, and that kind of thing. So I think Danica was there. It was very New York centric, that area, because they realized there are also a lot of local teams, local brands that they want to, and they want to fill the conventions. They want the 2 floors. They want to keep that footprint, and they want to be able to tell people they have 1 million square feet, that kind of thing. So
Right.
they were doing that. And I think a lot of those places were thinking, we got to bring in people up to get people to show up at our booth. And, the only way to really navigate all this was through their app, because otherwise there's too many things going on at once. You have no clue what's happening and who's going to be there, who's not going to be there. So the app was very good. And I will say this about Fanatics, whether you use the app for Fanatics Fest, or if you use Fanatics Collect, or if you use anything that's Fanatics, it's well produced, well run. I've never had a problem using their apps for anything, or their website or anything. It's very interactive. They spend the money, as Tim pointed out. They do spend the money. You do get quality there. I don't always like the message, but that's a different story.
Well, unless it's the jerseys you're buying, then the quality kind of.
Well, which is funny, because that's the original business, right? So
right, that's how they made all their money, and now they're making their money in every other possible way.
It took us what, 2 hours to mention that they sold jerseys. That's their core business. At least I think it used to be. And
right,
clothing. They were a clothing maker.
Yes.
Well, I don't know that they make the clothing.
No, but
they bought Majestic, who made the baseball jerseys.
But it's branded, right?
And then they just sold everything on their website, and then they started buying the companies that made the things that they sell on their website, and then they bought Tops, and then it was all downhill from there.
Right.
I said it already. They're successful because they're smart. Hey, we don't do this, but we want to. We'll just buy everybody that does.
Yeah.
There you go. Done.
Boy, we did talk a long time about Fanatics Fest, but that's okay, because I'll probably never go to one, so it's good to live vicariously through Clemente's experience.
You know what I really want? I want a shirt that says, I went to Fanatics Fest, so you don't have to.
No, it should say, I went to Fanatics Fest, and all I got was this shirt that cost $40.
Yeah, exactly.
Get yourself a cricket and make one. It's still cheaper than taking a picture with Jalen Brunson.
The National coming up next week. We're getting this preview in a little early because I am having my own chaotic month. I was going to talk about this at the beginning when we were doing our little how you doing and such.
We jumped right in this time. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, but I did not this past weekend when Fanatics Fest was going on, but the weekend before I did BotCon, which is a Transformers convention that's been going on since 1994. So I was at BotCon. And then this weekend, I'm going to do the Chicago Toy Show. And then middle of next week to the following weekend, I'm going to do the National. So I basically have 3 shows in 4 weekends. So trying to figure in where to get in the podcast and also keep up with all the other things that's going on is just a little nuts.
Is BotCon just Transformers?
Well, you could sell
or is
others.
there more that meets the eye?
Oh, there's robots in disguise, and there's more than meets the eye. Yeah, there were some G.I. Joes, some Voltron, some Robotech.
I had to do it.
Anything that's robot adjacent would count, right?
And I could do a separate show about this, but it's funny because I do toy shows and I do card shows, and they are just completely different worlds, and it's just weird that if I have a toy for $10, people be like, "Oh, that's $10. That's a good price. Here's my $10. Thank you." Right. And if I do a card show and the card is $10, they say, "I'll give you, you take 5. I'll give you 5." Right. It's always like a negotiation. But I think that kind of stems back to where works of fiction, like comic books, like Transformers, like Star Wars, like G.I. Joe. I mean, it was about good overcoming evil, and a lot of times it was because people were working together towards a common goal and sharing you're either sharing in the enjoyment of the story, but then the characters also work together, right? And sports is competitiveness, right? Well, you have a Gretzky rookie, but I have a Gretzky rookie, and mine's graded a PSA 8. You know what I mean? So it's a one-upmanship, it's a showmanship, or it's a competition. Oh, this guy wanted $10 for the card, but I got it for 5 because I'm such a good negotiator. I should be the general manager of the Knicks, right? There's always just this one-upmanship and competitiveness with sports, and I feel that that's kind of saturated into the sports collecting market. You know what I mean?
That's an interesting philosophy.
I know.
And yeah, I know I said I didn't want to get into it, and I just did.
It's not a crazy theory, though. But
It's not though, because
I said it's interesting.
because here's the thing. Like, if Tim's a Penguins fan and he meets someone who's a Flyers fan, they might talk smack. But like, if I read Spider-Man and you read Daredevil, we want to talk about comic books, right? Like, I don't care. Or like, oh, you read Superman and I read Spider-Man. Well, what's going on in Superman's world, right? Like, I want to know these things, right?
Yeah,
like
there's no competition built in sports. It's all about competition. Like you
when
said.
I was teaching in an art college, and they were very lax with the dress code, and I was also like in my early 30s, so I didn't think twice about wearing a t-shirt to go teach a web design class. But I walked in wearing a Vancouver Canucks t-shirt. Somebody said, "How could you wear a Canucks t-shirt?" I said, "What do you mean?" They're like, "Well, they're the enemies of the Blackhawks." I go, "Yeah, but the Canucks are a good team, and Roberto Luongo is awesome." And he just couldn't like wrap his head around the fact that I was wearing a Canucks t-shirt. Then I looked at him and I said, "Well, you're wearing a Darth Vader t-shirt." He's like, "Yeah, Darth Vader's awesome." I'm like, "Remember when Darth Vader killed all those little baby Jedis in episode 3? Master Anakin, what's going on?" Right? And he like, right. Yeah. I'm like, so Vader killed a lot of people and you're wearing his t-shirt.
But that's not real. That's not
real. Right. Well, the Canucks never killed anybody.
Well, no, they might as well have, right?
Well, okay.
So, okay. That was a bad.
Okay, no, okay. One came close. Todd Bertuzzi.
I was more worried about their fans, but anyway.
Oh, the riot. That's right. Yeah, I'm just here for the riot. Great documentary on ESPN.
It is a great documentary and very sad.
All right, so let's talk about the National, which is happening in Chicago, technically in the suburb of Rosemont, Wednesday, July 29th to Sunday, August 2nd of 2026. There's going to be 180 autographed guests, I know because I counted, including 6 hockey players, over 600 dealers, 500,000 plus square feet of convention space. That's the claim they make on their website. You can find almost anything at the National. Even if they're not selling it, you might just find it on display. Last year, some guy had these 1910 hockey postcards. If you've seen those tobacco cards of like George Vezina and Art Ross and those guys, it was originally, the same photos were originally used on postcards. I think they were also issued by Sweet Caporro cigarettes. And like, I mean, these were like, I don't want to say priceless, but I mean, they went for like at auction for like $30,000, $40,000 each, right? And it was just like, wow, where am I going to see these, postcards from 1910? And they were all graded and it was a complete set. So, I mean, you can find almost anything at the National. And this year, you'll be able to find me again at the National. I mean, I was there last year walking around with Tim and Clemente, spending money, buying things, living my best life. But this year I'll be back as a dealer. I have a booth. It's actually just a little table, but I'm just saying it's a booth. It's an 8-foot table with some space behind it. Booth number 58, blink and you'll miss me. But that's okay because I have a map in this presentation. I'll also be sending a map out to the Puck Junk newsletter subscribers so you can find me. Although if you go to the National website, go to the interactive map or download the Ludex interactive map app, you could just search for booth number 58 and it'll just show right where I'm at. I'm against the wall. I'm actually near 2 bathrooms and concessions. So I have a good feeling about that space, and I'm not too far from the autograph pavilion. So I feel like eventually everyone is going to come my way. In fact, I don't have I'll get to that later. And, real quick, let me just mention the hours. So Wednesday this year is going to start a little earlier. Normally they start at 3. This year they're starting at 1 on Wednesday. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's going to start at 9 a.m. for the VIPs, 10 a.m. for general admission and one-day passes. And Wednesday, it goes to 1 or 2, depending on your pass, to 8 o'clock. Thursday, 9 to 6. Friday, 9 to 6. Saturday, 9 to 6. Sunday, 9 to 4. But, I mean, Clemente, you'll remember last year they were letting in people because we both had media badges last year. So we got in early. But remember, they were letting people in at like 8:30, like 8:45. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think because so many people were lining up. Remember, it was a crush of people in the lobby. They just wanted people moving. They're like, you know what? You can get in early, get in early. And then it was super nice to walk around even for 20 minutes when there was nobody in there. So yeah, no. So VIPs, media will get in earlier, and in a show like the National, it really matters because there's a chance to buy stuff, and I know dealers sell to each other during that time. But yeah, no, that's what happened last year.
Sometimes it's the only time we get a chance to like look at stuff, like
Right.
like, oh, I only need 15 minutes to get my booth set up. So let me like stop at the upper deck booth. Cause I remember like one year they were selling like a Gretzky print and I had to stray away from my booth to go buy it. You know what I mean? Or, oh, these guys are doing a redemption and I want to try to get in on that really quick. But it's kind of, yeah, it's hard to do when you're selling. But yeah, I mean, if you're watching the PowerPoint, you'll see I got a photo of the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center. The line was actually like around the building. That's like the kind of the front of the building. And the entrance would be, if you're looking at the photo, it's kind of like past those trees on the right. And
I will say,
and it was, the line was just around the block though.
I will say VIP matters because that line is, especially at opening. If you, Tim, I think could talk about this. He came like later in the morning, so you can walk in then. But if you want to get there and get in the door at 10 a.m., that line starts forming an hour before, and it does go around the block and snakes all the way around, and it's pretty crazy. And you and I just walked right past all those people and walked right in, which was nice. But it is, and it's also crazy when it's over and then everybody gets out and tries to get a taxi. But getting in, the line is just ridiculous, like where it goes. It goes all the way around where the parking lot is in the back end.
Yeah, the line was there when we got there, but it took us so long to find a place to park and get situated and walk into the building and everything else. By the time we did that,
it
was 30 minutes after the gate opened and everybody was gone.
Right.
We're like,
oh,
where
really?
did the line go?
That's the key. Show up 30 minutes after it's open because everyone wants to get in when it opens, but you're not getting in when it opens. You're going to be the 127th person on the line. And then,
then the other day we were there earlier and we were standing in the line and at like 9:30, they let up general admission, just go in.
Right. Everything got moved up by half an
hour.
So
many people out here. We need to get rid of some of these people.
I thought that you said that the fire marshal was, or the cops were concerned.
What we heard.
Yeah.
We heard that the fire marshal showed up and they were like, hey, get these people out of here.
Just let them in. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think I mentioned that. I think I wrote a story about this in the Hockey News. And yeah, I mean, they wanted to get people in early. 30 minutes early. Yeah, I heard fire. I couldn't get direct confirmation of that. Like when I asked the National directly, like, so was it a fire code thing? And they're just like, no, we just wanted to get the crowd moving. And I'm like, okay, that doesn't answer my question.
No, that's
National people never tell you anything. They don't tell you how many people show up. They don't tell me how many tickets they sold.
They just tell you it's a record, but they keep the number internal.
It's a record, yeah, and yeah.
It's the National Illuminati.
Like, wasn't last year the record and beat the previous year's record? I will guarantee it will be another record crowd this year because
every year they beat their records.
I know.
We don't know what that record is, so they could be lying, but we don't know.
Sure.
Well, they said that over last year, more than 100,000 people attended the show.
Which I believe just from the people, I mean, there were crowds everywhere. So,
yeah, I mean, you remember how tight some of those corridors, some of those areas got, where like it was just wall-to-wall people and you couldn't walk.
Yeah, I do remember that. That's every year. And there's also corners of the place that you're like, I haven't seen this. I've been here for 3 days. Like, what is this place? I've never seen this corner. So that happens at the National all the time.
Or you realize there's a whole other wing you've never even been to.
Well, that was pretty funny. And that was actually, I think, the year where the National really just ballooned in size. It got really big.
Yeah, that's when they went from just doing the one side on the ground floor of the convention center to both sides. And actually that kind of brings up my next slide, because I want to talk about a little bit about how to find the puck junk booth, which, it's like being a tiny fish in a enormous pond, enormous lake, an ocean, right? And that's what I am. I am but a minnow, right?
What I
So,
see here is PSA is like 1/8 of the show.
well, no, this isn't even the full map. This is just
Oh.
It's only
cropped.
one section.
That's just one
Yeah.
floor or one
This
section.
is just, yeah. So you see where it says entrance from North River Road. So that's like where we'd walk in, right? And then it says main lobby, and then you see main entrance number 1. That's where we would normally go in, right? Like when they open the doors and everybody goes that way, and you go down like 3 steps. Okay, so everybody goes in that way. However, there's that other main entrance, which I didn't know you could actually go in there. And that goes to the other side. And then remember, like we were going to get autographs, and it was just quicker to cut through the lobby and go out the one entrance and into the other entrance instead of walking all the way around, which I think I did like the first 3 days. And then then you or me or whatever, we're just like, oh, we could go this way. This is faster.
Yeah.
So that main lobby, that's the bottom of the escalators right there.
Yeah. So if you go past those escalators, like instead, like normally, like if you go into the main lobby and then you go up the escalators to like the second floor, like if there's a Chicago Sports Spectacular, it's usually on the second floor, or in the case of the National, there's also stuff on the second floor. There's a lot of dealers and corporate booths up there this year as well. So if you go into the lobby and then you just go right, and then you go into that other main entrance towards the Starbucks, then you can find my booth pretty quick. Like I'm all the way against the wall, and I'm like near up near bathrooms, kind of on either side. So it's booth number 58, first floor, hall F. Just walk around long enough, you'll find my booth, or you could look on the interactive app, or you could just hug the wall and go around the whole floor. You'll find one way or another, you'll find me.
We were making fun of Target having a thing at Fanatics Fest, and you're right by the Walmart booth.
Yeah, I am. Hey, that's okay though. I could say, hey, if you're by the Walmart booth, you are close. I'm trying to see what that little, that's Card Ladder. I'm actually like within visual distance of Card Ladder. Okay.
Let me ask you this. You said this is only a part of it. With the PSA booth there's more show beyond that, right? Yes.
Yeah, dude,
this is only the side room and that back room. This is the main floor.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is just one sliver. Yeah. Yeah,
Clemente, I feel bad. I gotta hang on a second. I can't I don't actually have a what's it called? I don't actually have a I don't have the map handy.
No, I mentioned this only because I remember what PSA is. That whole middle area were all dealers last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So they've
just gotten larger and larger because they're not just doing submissions, but they're also doing grading on the site, I'm guessing, and they need the space.
Yeah, they're
That's
doing
like that area that we sat there the whole time, and there was that loud, ear-deafening screeching sound coming from that area.
Wasn't that also the area where they're going to be, where they had all those food vendors, those walking tacos? That was a whole thing.
Yeah, they were all along that back part of where they had that dividing wall up.
Yeah, that area was a little crazy because then you had the breakers right next door, and that was a little crazy. And I always try to avoid that whole breaker area because it's just like it's a casino, as you say. It's true, it's a casino. It's also
it's kind of the same thing, because you got to remember, with this just being the part of the map, the rest of the map, you got the whole other area. So if you're looking at this from a video standpoint, you'd have to have a whole nother screen on top of your screen you're looking at.
And that would be a jumbotron to show the whole map. I mean, even
not to mention the upstairs. So
right, which we'll talk about, I guess.
That is the entire floor plan, right?
That was like an aerial shot of a city.
Yeah, well, this is the whole thing. So now this puts things into perspective, right? Now watch this. If I type in Puck Junk, there I am.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
So enhance, right? So this is like the VIP entrance.
Oh yeah, the eBay booth. Yeah, that's why the corporates
eBay Golden Upper Deck. Yep, all of this stuff. There's Whatnot. There's GTS, right? And I'm right here. So yeah, right by concessions and more concessions and Card Ladder and Iconic and NBA and Migray and Mascot and Oh, SGC. Oh man, Beckett. Yeah. So there's a lot of corporate booths near me. So yeah, I'm on the first floor though, which I'm grateful for.
So no, I think you're in a great location, and yeah, I mean it's gonna be good. So
Well, I'm glad that I'm against the wall because
yeah,
I didn't
that's
want to
true
be
too.
back to back with another dealer because
That's
that
true.
you saw how cramped it was on that second floor.
Yeah, hopefully that's expanded a bit to be a little bit more talk about crowded aisles. That was really, really weird that it was jam-packed in that little space and the rest of it was empty.
On the second floor of the national, they are going to have this international area, and these are going to be all vendors from Europe.
Hmm.
You know, and then of course more corporate booths upstairs. But last year it was just like a small area. This time it's like they're using up more of that space.
So it looks like it's almost half as opposed to a quarter.
I guess the thing is they're expanding a little more each time. And you remember like a couple years back, they had all of the ground floor. And then last year they added some of the upstairs. And then obviously the demand was greater than the supply. So they added more upstairs. And, you know, and they're trying to figure out what to do. I mean, I think if they just said, all right, we're going to just double the footprint, that might just be too much too soon. You know what I mean? They still have to manage it.
It was an experiment. They're growing, but they have to manage it, like you said. Otherwise it could have been we could have been complaining about look how big and sparse this looks. And then the dealers there won't get their money's worth. The experience will be lousy up there. We thought that nobody would go up there, and we were totally wrong. People did go up there.
Well, because you had a lot of the new blood sellers upstairs, and so they're the younger sellers, they're the breakers, or they're the people dealing in the new stuff, you know, the bro case culture, you know, so you're going to get the the younger dealers upstairs, or the newer dealers, I should say. It doesn't really have to do with age. It has to do with experience. Like, for example, one dealer, nice guys that I talked to, Hockey Card Exchange, they were like, well, this is our first national. But they're like, but we've been doing the expo for 20 years, but this is our first national. So they made us start on the second floor with one table. But you might remember Hockey Card Exchange because at the expo, they have like 10 tables.
Right.
They have like that giant island unto
Middle,
themselves.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But we're going to talk about why you should come to the Puck Junk booth. So come to the Puck Junk booth, and you can buy hockey cards. You can buy t-shirts, hockey t-shirts at a discount. I'm going to be putting some of my older designs on a pretty deep discount because I need to clear room to make room for some new designs. So if you're looking for some older shirts, I'm going to be bringing those and marking those down a bit. I will also be giving away Bad Hockey Card Hall of Fame sets. And then also I have a Puck Junk logo shirt that I like to give out to our listeners. So if you're listening to this podcast and you're like, hey, I want one of those black Puck Junk t-shirts that Sal's always wearing when he goes to the shows, come to the booth and ask for one.
To get the shirt, though, is it true, Sal? Is it true that they have to come to the booth and then name the t-shirt store you worked with at the mall?
No. I don't. No.
There's no
So they
question.
have to say the secret word.
The secret word, right?
Secret word.
Which we can tell right here, and then they can, if they're listeners, they will know it.
And the secret word is pumpernickel.
Pumpernickel. That would have been Bernie Nichols' goal celebration, right? When he would pump his fist in the air.
You know what's funny? Someone's going to say this to Sal. Sal's not going to remember. He's going to be like, what are you talking about?
He'd be like, what?
That's why, hopefully I'm creating a monster by doing this. So
No, I mean,
out there now, go to the booth and say pumpernickel. Don't say anything else. Don't say hi. Don't acknowledge anything. Just walk up and say pumpernickel.
Do not listen to Tim because he is delirious with the fever. I mean, we're going on 2 hours here. He's barely awake.
Well, I got a fever, and the only cure is more pumpernickel.
Yeah.
I knew you were going to say that.
So, the other thing, too, is that Clemente is going to be at the show. You're going to be there pretty much the whole 5 days.
Yeah, I just usually Sunday around 12, I'm like, I got to get out of here. Like, usually
of course.
At some point, but for 4.5 days, I'll be there. And this is when we prove to the world that we three are real people. We exist in the same space. We're not like, I'm not Tim or Tim is not me. People think sometimes we've also not been on the podcast all together sometimes. So, yeah, there's a chance to meet all three of us in the same space. Hopefully, Tim will be there that weekend. I know that he says every year that he's might not come, and then he's there. So,
Yeah, Tim always says, "Oh, I'm not coming," and then he's like, and then
or
he
I
shows
might
up.
not come. It's always like
Just like
open,
to-
and then he's
I
there.
just don't want to get people's hopes up and like then disappoint them.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
So if I set the bar here and I hit here, then everybody's like, "Wow, yay!"
yeah, Tim's here. Yeah, even I'm like, oh, I'm surprised. He said you were gonna be here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be good.
Sorry, I'm late. I didn't want to come.
No, you got to say I wasn't even supposed to be here today.
Right.
I mean, generally, I'm not.
Yeah. But no, I'm excited I'll be selling again at the National, and I hope to talk to a lot of you, about hockey and hockey cards, what you collect, your favorite players, favorite teams, stuff like that. I like,
Nothing.
nothing. Yeah, just all of that stuff, I mean, I like doing shows. So
And we should tell people that this is a home show for you, so your inventory is better. You can always go home and bring something as opposed to I'm in Cleveland. I only have what I brought, so
yeah, I mean in Cleveland I ran out of some t-shirts and I'm just like, that's all I got.
I'm done, right.
But at Chicago, I've been like, hey, you know what? Are you coming back tomorrow? I'll just bring it tomorrow. Or like one day a guy came up to me, he's like, do you have a Dave Schultz rookie card? I'm like, at home, you coming back tomorrow? I was like, yeah. I'm like, all right, I'll bring it. Next day I bring him the Dave Schultz rookie card that he wanted. Or another person wanted like, I don't know, it was just some random, it was like Jean Beliveau 68 tops. I'm like, yeah, I actually have a whole bunch of 68 tops. So, I could do that sort of thing where like I could bring things when they sell out. If I have more, I could replenish, or if people have specific requests, I could bring it. Or if they say, oh, I see this t-shirt on your website, but you didn't bring it to the show. I'm like, well, I'll be back tomorrow. I'll bring it tomorrow. And so, yeah, it is kind of nice to do the National when it's in Chicago and to sell at it. Although I did love going and being a buyer. As we wind this episode down, hockey legends and Hall of Famers, as they put it on their website. So Jaromir Jagr, Megan Keller, Jerry Korab, Grant Mulvey, Billy Smith, Reed Simpson will be signing autographs at the National. And if you only recognize 3 of those names, I don't blame you. I know all 6 of those names because A, I am a hockey fan, and B, I am from Chicago and watch the Blackhawks. And if the 3 names you might not know are the Blackhawks in this list, Jerry Korab played with the Hawks for like 2 seasons. And like maybe, 2 seasons. And he was with like Vancouver and Buffalo. Grant Mulvey played most of his career with the Blackhawks, played a season in New Jersey. Reed Simpson was like a minor leaguer until like the late 90s. Then he played with the Devils and then the Blackhawks and then the Blues. And then he like finished his career with like the Chicago Wolves of the AHL. And of course, I'm sure most people who listen to this podcast know battling Billy Smith, the famous goaltender from the New York Islanders. Of course, Jaromir Jagr, who is, the gift that keeps on giving. Has he retired yet, Tim? Is he finally retired?
Last I checked, no.
No.
Okay.
No.
I think he actually really did play like either the first half or second half. At least
he was playing home games. He was playing home games for the team that he owns.
Yep.
Because he says it sells tickets. So
which technically that's not retired. So there
right.
You go.
And then rounding that out, Megan Keller, who scored the game-winning goal in the 2026 Olympics for the women's ice hockey team in that game against Canada. So so more than who they had last year, but I think last year they had 3. Didn't they have 3 or 4?
Let me add this though. I will say some of the names, like you said, people might not know them because they're local to Chicago, and that's fine. It's still in Chicago, so it matters. But this is probably the best hockey signer lineup in quite a few years, because every year we complain about it, and I think having Olympian on there, you have Jagr. I mean, you got some pretty decent. You have enough here now to play with. I mean, Fanatics Fest obviously has better hockey signers, and that's been the case since the beginning. But I think for the National, it could be better. But this is a big improvement. And having Yager on here as a headliner is pretty big in my opinion. And he's signing more and more nowadays. So, but there's still probably lots of people who haven't gotten him but want to get him. So I think he's going to be a big draw for sure.
I would love it if they had Yager and Hasek at the same one, because I mean they're both Czech superstars, and I mean obviously they played on different teams, but then in the Olympics, that '98 Olympic team was, I mean, that was the first year they had NHLers where the NHL stopped, closed up shop for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, let the NHL players go and play in the Olympics, and that was a pretty epic series. I mean, that, I don't know, I think that'd be awesome, but I mean, you get who you could get, but I look at this, and then I look at Fanatics Fest and they got Patrick Kane. I'm like, okay. I mean, if he came to Chicago, people love Patrick Kane. No one's holding a grudge against him because he's with the Red Wings. People still love Patrick Kane in Chicago. They're holding their breath, hoping he comes back and signs again to play for the Blackhawks. But I mean, you look at guys who are like, who retired a long time ago, who they could bring in, or I don't know, more recent players. I mean, I don't know why, like someone like a Corey Crawford, that would be a ridiculously popular. I mean, he's the former goaltender, super popular. I mean, I know a lot of people would get his autograph. Well, I think they would, because he was just such a popular player on the team, and he was, goalies are always popular. I think bringing in I mean, do I want Reed Simpson's autograph? Sure. I mean, because I like hockey. I like hockey players, I like hockey autographs. But I think, like, as far as like a draw, I mean, he's not the kind that's going to draw people to the show. Kind of like last year, there was Ben Eager. And I loved Ben Eager when he was on the Blackhawks. But you also, Clemente, you remember that line. I mean, it wasn't really.
No. And he was one of the VIP signers.
He was one of the VIP signers. And this year they got 3 hockey players as VIP signers: Korab, Mulvey, and Reed Simpson. So
well, I like how they're marketing all those guys as Blackhawks. Honestly, as a hockey fan, I look at that. Mulvey's the only one that I label as a Blackhawk. I mean, sure, they all played. Korab, he was a Sabre.
Yeah.
I think he's known as a Sabre.
Yeah.
Mulvey, Blackhawk. Reed Simpson, I don't know. He's a journeyman. He played for every team in the league.
Well, no, he played for the I mean, he probably played for a few other teams, but I know, like, he has hockey cards. He has like one hockey card as a Blackhawk. Like, I'm talking mainstream cards, not like team issued stuff. Like, he has a 97-98 Be a Player rookie card as a Devil, and he's in the 99-2000 Tops and OPC sets, which are basically the same set, just different logos. And then he's in like the 01-02 top set as a Blue. So he has like one Devils card, one Blackhawks card, one Blues card. And then he has like a lot of minor league cards.
Yeah.
He was with Wilkes-Barre Scranton for, I think, a season.
I think he was on the Penguins main roster for like maybe 2 games.
Okay.
I don't even know that he played, but he was at least on the roster.
Right. Good
It's
memory.
nice to see Yager on a list. I mean, he's been doing a lot more things in the last year or so in North America.
Mm-hmm.
So you never used to see his name for a long time, but now seeing it is good. I think Megan Keller is going to be a huge draw. So that's good. And Billy Smith's always a good, where anytime he's at any kind of event, he always brings a pretty decent crowd.
Mm-hmm.
For various reasons. But I think we answered our own question about why we don't have a bigger lineup or a better lineup or better. I mean, we said it already. Fanatics spent $10 million on autograph guests.
Mm-hmm.
Fanatics has all the money in the world and could print more if they wanted to. I don't think JBJ has that kind of money running the National. So, and I know TriStar puts on the autograph sponsorship, but still, TriStar's bigger. They're not Fanatics big. So, I wish we could see better guests. I mean, the fact that there's one Hall of Famer on this list and a future Hall of Famer, cool. But one Hall of Famer, I mean, what did we get last year? One Hall of Famer, and that's it. I think, was it last year Hashik, and that was the only one for hockey?
Yeah.
You know, there were a bunch of entertainers that were hockey people, right? Emilio Estevez, cool. All right, we got Gordon Bombay. But I mean, I'm talking real people, not fictional. So
Yeah. And, like, again, I think, like, like someone like Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook. I know I brought up Corey Crawford earlier. Marion Hossa. If you want to go back to the 80s, Dennis Savard, Steve Larmer, Al Secord, or, I'm trying to think, Ronick. Ronick does shows.
these guys all show up to the expos up in Canada.
Yeah, Ronick, Belfour,
There's got
Chelios.
to be a way they can tap into this in the national at some point.
Chelios used to do nationals quite a bit.
Yeah.
In fact, it was funny. One time, I forgot what national it was. I think it was the 2019 national. He walked right by me, and it took me a second. Like, I'm walking through the national. I'm wearing my Chris Chelios jersey, and this guy walks by me, and I go, wow, that guy is in really good shape to be a sports card collector. And then I did a double take, and I'm like, oh my God, it's Chris Chelios. But I wasn't going to like run up to him and be like, oh my God, I'm wearing your jersey. Let's be friends. I was just like, it was just funny that he was just walking through the show floor like nobody recognized him. I mean, and it took me a second. But yeah, I would kind of like to see more. I mean, I know back in 2021 they had Brett Hull, and I know Adam Oates does shows, and I know Ray Bork does shows, and I think of those guys.
I mean, they can't even get Brett Hull, right? I mean,
but they used to. They used to get Brett Hull.
I know, because you mentioned Adam Oates. So yeah, I mean, I'll give you an example. The White Plains show sometimes has better hockey signers than this, and that's the regional show. It's not the national. And I know that hockey is not the number one sport, or maybe not even the number 4 sport, but please, like, it's
I'm sure Billy Smith's been at plenty of those.
Yeah, exactly. And there's enough. I mean, Chicago's a hockey town, right? So it's not like, oh, this is Atlantic City. Even then, you're in the New York zone, sort of. You're in Jersey. So no, it's kind of crazy. And I know we say it every year, and I think it's a better lineup than usual. But if Yager wasn't on this list and it was somebody else, somebody more minor, this list wouldn't look so sexy as it does now.
Right.
So, yeah. So I'd be curious to see what the lines look like for, not the VIP signers. People tend to trade those. And I remember last year you and I hung out there quite a bit and got a lot of autographs that way. But I agree that, I'm sure Yager will have the biggest line of all the hockey signers, or maybe Megan Kelly will too, because she of the Olympics at the Olympic bump. But it would have been an opportunity to have more Olympians here too, to have, like we mentioned, Fanatics Fest had the Hughes brothers. They don't have to all show up, but this is the off season, right? So they're around, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I feel like they missed out on an opportunity to capture some of that Olympic hype that's still churning.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it is what it is. This is what we have, so we make the best of it going forward. But I would really like not to get into a philosophical discussion about businesses and how they run their businesses and everything else. But we've got one corporation that essentially prints and distributes all of the hockey cards, and you'd think that they could tap into maybe some of their exclusive signers that they have the rights to and have them show up at various points and do kind of like a mini, because you even brought up, Clemente, that there's going to be people doing things that are copycat to what Fanatics Fest does, maybe on a smaller scale. And I don't mind the blending of all of those types of things, but you got Upper Deck there with plenty of space and plenty of booth available, and multiple areas of the show that they are utilizing to be able to bring people in, even as surprise guests.
And we don't know that, right, yeah. Sal? We don't know that that's not going to be the case. But in the past, they've done it on very small scale with some names that really weren't that exciting. But maybe there's an opportunity. And I know you've had conversations with them. I know I did last year, and they're always trying to make their booth bigger and better. And I'll be honest, Upper Deck has been a trailblazer. I mean, at the expo, you remember, Sal, a couple of years back, they pretty much invented the 2-floor booth. And now everyone's got it. Fanatics Fest, Starbucks had a 2-floor booth with a VIP on top. So so in that way, Upper Deck is a trailblazer, but then they quickly get left behind. And Tim is right. Like, bring in a big name. I know it's not going to be Wayne Gretzky or Michael Jordan. Those guys don't show up at a show. But there's plenty of people in the arsenal, plenty of rookies that they sign. Bring in a Matthew Schaefer, shake it up, like do something crazy. I mean, it can't be that hard.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, we'll know that closer to we'll be there at the National and see what they're doing. And so we'll see what happens. But I'm always fingers crossed, hoping that is something that they will explore. And they're always naming new athletes, not just hockey. It's women's hockey or men's hockey.
That's it. And so
soccer,
many people
volleyball. It's all kinds of sports. Golf.
And so many people point out all the time that Upper Deck has all these exclusive licenses with people like, and I'm not saying you gotta get Jordan there. You gotta get Gretzky there.
No, we know McDavid.
I'm not saying these guys, but you got tons of other people. Not to mention you have the NHL and the NHLPA licensing. You can't make a couple phone calls and be like, hey, let's get a half a dozen guys that are maybe not A-listers, but at least B-listers.
It would be a draw. I mean, it would be a draw because we all know the hockey people, and there's a good number of those people. And if 100 people show up at the booth, that's a lot of people that normally wouldn't go, because the Upper Deck booth is really old school, is that you just go there for a redemption, or you go there to open some wax, and it's not a whole lot going on. I actually heard that
space.
I actually heard Topps is not doing redemptions this year, I think. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
But that means, what are they doing? That they're not doing nothing. I mean, there's no point to that. Now, I know last year, for example, I'm sorry to cut you off. I remember last year at the Topps booth, I went over there and I said, hey, it's pretty quiet over here. And the answer I got was, we do Fanatics Fest. We're just here because we have to be here. But, so I get that they're there as a presence, but they're not there. I think Topps booth last year had Gary V showed up. Okay, that's not that exciting. So they're not.
Especially when he had his own booth.
And he had his own booth, V Friends, which he also had, by the way, at Fanatics Fest. But he just walked over because they have collaboration together, and he walked over there and did some giveaways, and people got excited. But that's not a sexy person signing being there in terms of bringing eyeballs. And I get it. Their showcase for them is Fanatics Fest. That's not the National. But Topps is a big player, and in many sports, you want to bring in somebody, an NBA player, somebody. So we'll see what they're going to do and not do. I'd be curious to see what the corporates are going to do, because I think they're constantly thinking about how to move product, hype, because we know the corporate areas, they're massive. They pay a lot of money to be there. But ultimately, you're like, you don't need to be here. I mean, I've heard of Topps. I've heard of Upper Deck. Like, you can't get away from those companies. They produce cards. Like, if you're going to buy cards, inevitably you're going to buy their products. So I'll be curious to see what they do. That's all. Wait, Sal, you were going to say something.
Well, I mean, I was going to say that, like, okay, so like 2023, I think it was, when Upper Deck had Joseph Wall, the Maple Leafs goaltender, signing autographs.
And you read my mind you read my mind.
And there was a line for that. I mean, there people got in line for that. I mean, I was in line for like, I don't know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. I mean, it was, like, I don't even know. I mean, I think maybe a couple people didn't know who he was. They're like, oh, he's not a basketball player. And then they like walked away. But I mean, that was fine. You know what I mean? There was enough people there that it was like, okay, this is nice, right? Like, but it wasn't like such a long line that I couldn't get an autograph. But then, and they even took my picture with him, which was nice. But then, like, last year, they had Chance, the Vegas Golden Knights mascot, at the booth for photo ops and signing autographs. It was like an oversized card that he'd sign, and then he'd do a photo with you. And it was kind of, I mean, listen, did I get a photo with Chance biting my head? You better believe I did. Did I get a signed card? You better believe I did, right? that's not a complaint for me, but it was a little cringy because there was like almost nobody there.
Yep.
And then they kept trying to hype it up, like, come get an autograph from Chance the mascot from the Vegas Golden Knights. And I'm
Well,
like thinking, we're in Chicago. It should be Tommy Hawk.
Right.
People get Tommy Hawk. Okay, I know they don't do baseball, so getting Clark the Cub maybe wouldn't really help build their brand awareness for their hockey cards. But if they had Skates from the Chicago Wolves and Tommy Hawk from the Blackhawks, that would have been awesome. But nobody really cared about. I mean, I get it. People come from all over from the National, but there were like 5 people who wanted to get a picture or an autograph, and then they just kept, oh, he's going to be here for 10 more minutes. Come on up. And I'm just like, okay, yeah, it's you could play it up all you want, but I mean, there was no demand from the get-go. So then that was just.
You don't want to be the one going up there to get your picture taken because you felt bad because no one else was going up there. The last thing you want as a giant corporation that runs a certain section of the hobby is for half of your collecting fan base that shows up to this event, coming from all over the country, sometimes all over the world, to show up going, that's it?
Right.
That's all you got?
Right.
Yeah, that was the big name the big draw as a guest was, Chance the mascot. And the thing is, you're right. If you're going to do a mascot, that's already bad enough, but wrong city. Like, I don't know how many Vegas fans were there. 0 is my guess. I was there. I took the picture.
There were a couple people there.
The team that was voted the most hated team in the NHL by fan bases across the country.
I mean, if you're upper deck and you can bring in any mascot, that's not the one you bring in unless they're in a corner and they're like, we can only bring in this mascot. Do we do it? But I have to think. I know I get press releases from them every other week about signing somebody else. Misty May Trainer, beach volleyball. It's every sport. They're trying to get people from every sport. You can bring somebody in. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe they will. I mean, maybe they will. So I want to be pleasantly surprised, I hope.
So I'm kind of vague on this, on these points here, because a lot of these companies haven't really announced what they're doing yet. Like Upper Deck doesn't really tell us until maybe like 5 days before the show. Like then they'll say, come to our booth for a redemption and get this and do that and get an autograph from this AEW wrestler or whatever. But we do know that there's going to be trade nights. We do know that there's going to be live breaks. We know that there's going to be contest raffles and giveaways by the various booths. You'll kind of just have to check in with them. There's going to be dealers from Europe in like a special section, which I think is interesting. I'd love to see if anybody brings some European hockey stuff, because I'd be Clemente, you'll have to be my eyes and ears on that. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, I definitely.
Swedish national team postcard set from '79 with Boris Salming or whatever.
When I heard about this just a couple of days ago, my first thought was interesting, international, like where are they from, like what countries? And number 2, I know that there's a dedicated soccer show that's happening off-site somewhere else in Chicago that same weekend because soccer's underrepresented. Are these people doing a lot of soccer? The other thing that internationals love is the NBA. So do they have a lot of NBA cards? Do they have the same stuff that basically we can get here? Or are they bringing stuff? I hope it's something like that. I hope they're bringing stuff from their own countries, some stuff we never see, because just because you're an international, you're based in Germany and you buy and sell top soccer and basketball. Well, I can get that here. So, so I hope it's more diverse than that. And maybe that's where the odd stuff is, and like the postcards, and hopefully we get some people from the Czech Republic or Czechia, as they call it now, or Sweden or Finland or somewhere, these hockey countries where you're going to get stuff that maybe we've only heard of or never heard of before. And I hope that's the hope, but we'll see. And clearly it also shows that the Nationals becoming international, which, Tim mentioned just briefly that people from all over the world are coming to this. And that's true. I've noticed that post-pandemic, people from other countries are definitely coming. It's not a big part of it, but it's definitely growing. So having international dealers will matter. And for someone, as someone who's been to shows abroad, the London card show is big. I think it's one of the biggest in Europe. There is definitely an appetite around the world for soccer, but not just soccer. There's hockey in parts of Europe, the NBA, basketball, even the NFL. I mean, when I was in London, obviously they play a lot of games there. The NFL does, and people care about. And there were
Well, the
English,
Jaguars do.
yeah, but there were English dealers just selling NFL cards. So, and it's a whole subculture in the UK of people who stay up in the middle of the night and watch NFL games because of the time zone. So there is all this really niche stuff going on. So I'm hoping that's something that's worth it. I can't tell from the map how many tables or dealers that is. It sounds like 2 full rows, which is a lot. Hopefully that's something that, like you said, I'll be your eyes and ears, because that's like one of the first places I want to check out. So I'm just curious about it. And if they're going to build as international, I'm guessing they're hoping for some diversity, variety as well.
Yeah, I heard it was like around 30 dealers from Europe.
That's pretty good.
You should wear your Italy shirt and see if anybody acknowledges you.
Exactly.
That's
well, no, I didn't. I do that at the expo. I wore like my Italy top tracksuit. Oh no, I didn't do that, but I have one at home, of course, because I have to. It's my birthright. But
yeah,
Sal noticed a little kid who was all decked out in an Italy tracksuit, and he goes, "Oh, look, it's a young Clemente." Remember that?
Yeah, I do. That was at the expo, right?
At the trade night at the expo, that's right.
Yeah, the tracksuit. Yeah, that's.
I could see it like partially unzipped, gold chains, chest hair,
all blue with the Italian flag on the sides.
I mean, he's 8, but he still has chest hair, so yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, of course, you got to check in with the the companies, either their websites or just their booths, and they'll give you more details on that. Some of them will have free autographs, hopefully, or redemptions or whatever. But as we wrap this one up, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts, any last thoughts. We really kind of put all our thoughts out there, so I don't know what's left. But
I have a final thought, because I thought about this over the course of the year when I go to other shows, but I also thought about at Fanatics Fest. I know we talk about this. Everyone talks about this. Wear comfortable shoes. I don't care. Wear whatever you want. Go barefoot. I don't care. Just a couple of etiquette things when you're in public. Number one, please use deodorant or shower. I know we talk about this all the time, but the two that really kind of bother me is people that take escalators and just decide to stop at the bottom of one. At Fanatics Fest, this happened like all the time. And the other thing that really bothers me, and at the National it bothered me, and it bothered me this past weekend, these people that point in a crowds. It's like, you're going to take someone's eye out, or you're going to hit me in the head with your finger or your arm. Please, if you're going to point, like, be discreet, look around, just be aware. There's a lot of people here. We all want to have a good time, but these things are starting to bother me as I'm, and I'm really annoyed after this very busy summer of the World Cup and Fanatics Fest. I'm really starting to hate crowds. So this, to me, is like, I can lose it at this show. You guys have to help me out here. Like,
well, I'm definitely coming then, because I want to see this.
No, because I just am going to lose my pay. All this stuff that's been building up, I'm going to take it out on one guy that points like in a crowd and like hits somebody in the head. I don't know if this has happened to you guys, but this pointing in public and this escalator thing is really growing to a point where it becomes very difficult to navigate a very crowded show. And this will be a crowded show, I think.
So now all the kids that are hitting what's called the Sophie Cunningham, the point.
Oh, is that a thing that they do now?
Oh yeah, apparently.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, she did that in that one game in the WNBA.
Oh, right. Well, no, these were adults who were doing it, like adult men.
Maybe that's what they were doing. Maybe they were imitating her.
No, because everyone's lost and everyone's looking for, needs direction. I get that. The one thing I like about the National is that the map pretty much doesn't change all that much. So things are in the usual spots. Fanatics Fest every year, it's like they blow it up and start all over again. So nothing is where it was the year before. Nothing looks the same. Here, there's some parts of the show, especially at this venue that we've all been to many times. There's some familiarity, and that certainly helps. And that also, we're going to be there for more than one day. So we're going to start to get to know the place and where individual places are, or individual dealers or booths that we want to see. But I'm just saying, in public, my final thought is, just be aware other people are around you. That's all. And common courtesy. We're all here to have a good time. That's the important thing.
Yeah. You're not the star of the show. Just remember that. You're not the main character.
We're all the main character in our own story.
Yeah, well, you're not at this. Have some common courtesy. Say please, say thank you. It goes a long way.
I think most people that listen to this show do that anyway. So I don't think we're really telling them anything that they
We're preaching to the choir, maybe, but we're hoping that, we're just saying it to get it off our chest, basically. That's why.
Right?
I'm saying
Yeah. I mean, the card shows can be a stinky place, that's for sure. No, I'm excited to be a dealer again, and I'm just excited to see how that goes out. And I just can't wait to see everybody, especially those of you who listen to the show or read the newsletter, read the blog, etc. I just love talking to people. And, I see a lot of you at the Chicago Sports Spectacular, but I see a lot more of you at the National because everybody comes in from all over. So it really gives me a chance to connect with people who, I talk to on social media, talk to, via email or direct messages on Facebook or X or Instagram. So it'll be fun to see people. So I'm looking forward to that. I mean, I'm looking forward to everything, but that's something I'm excited about.
I also buried the lead.
Yep.
So I think on the Thursday of the National, Sports Collectors Digest is doing a panel, and I'm on it. So there you go.
Cool.
There you go. That's all I know. I have no details. So
okay. Well, we'll
look for me.
Yeah.
No slow clap. Okay.
I'll be there. I'll be wearing my tracksuit. Maybe you can find it very easily.
Sports Collectors Digest tracksuit.
I'll be super, super disappointed if you don't. Wait, there's actually going to be panels, like real panels?
Well, they've always had panels. They're just often very sparsely attended.
Come on now.
So
let's call them what they are.
What are they?
They're just a bunch of influencers sitting there trying to pump up themselves.
Sometimes, but there's still 9 people watching in the crowd because the National isn't Fanatics Fest. People aren't there for programming. They're there to buy cards, to buy collectibles, but also to meet, to see people. What
are you talking about? Do you know?
I think we're just talking about the hobby in general. So, but yeah, I just found out from.
I just wondered because I won't be there on Thursday.
Yeah, no, yeah, and I don't think they're streaming any of this, so maybe they are. I don't know. I have no idea.
But somebody better film it so I can watch it.
We need those Instagram influencers to come and film their 15-second clips. Like, I got Clemente talking about soccer.
Yeah, film it and then email it to me. You guys remember what email is? Send that to me.
Okay, I think we're going to end it here because this has been a really long but really great conversation about the Fanatics Fest that just took place and the National Sports Collectors Convention that is coming up. So I wanted to say thank you all for listening to the Puck Junk Hockey Podcast, especially all the way to the end of this episode. If you've enjoyed the show, please be sure to like and subscribe. Please be sure to subscribe to the newsletter. If you'd like to support this podcast, you could do so by purchasing a t-shirt at shop.puckjunk.com. Of course, you could come and visit me at the Puck Junk booth at the National, booth number 58, because I'll be selling t-shirts there as well. So please come up, say hello. And until next time, collect what you like.